Hello and welcome to Everyday Eternal number 134, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly legacy podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our brand new Patreon. Callum, you will need to learn how to do that. I can't do it anymore.
Today's show is brought to you by our brand new patrons, Dominic Munfer.
Awesome. If you want to support the running of the show directly, you can support us on patreon.com/everydayeternal. Dude, I'm so glad you're here. Otherwise, I would have been very, very lonely. But actually, it's not only me. It's actually two Brits who have entered the podcast tonight because
We're
Kai...
taking over.
What actually happened to Kai? It says RIP, rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely wasn't English assassins going into his room last night.
I mean, he's living in Berlin. Like, he's probably like dealing with some Berlin. No, seriously, like Kai is going to be back next week. Hopefully, we figured it out. But tonight we are joined by none other than Andy Fernandes. Andy, we talked about you a lot last week, I believe, as the creator of so many amazing legacy decks. Like by now, I can't even recite all of them. Andy, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Where do we go from here? we usually don't introduce the guest first. Like, I was totally confused.
Yeah,
I was so thrown off by the intro. This is already all over the place. I'm loving it.
Nice.
Seriously, no. Callum messaged me today. We were talking, like, we were brainstorming about what we were going to do. This episode didn't really have a good title. And then all of a sudden, like, Callum went ahead and did amazingly well in a bunch of tournaments. And we were like, you know what? Why don't we just, like, get another person on who does really well at tournaments? And this is how Andy came into the cast. So... To try something I've always wanted to do and I always fail at is to quickly sum up what we're going to talk about. Dude, this is already the worst intro we have ever done.
Well, for the intro, we always ramble on for ages. So
That's
without
true.
Kai, we can pretend what Kai's been up to. He's been sitting in bed with a cold, I think. For me, this past weekend, I played a lot of Magic Online. I played the Saturday Challenge. And we'll go into them later, but I played the Saturday Challenge, and then I wasn't going to play the Showcase Challenge. I was helping my parents move house. And then we got that done really fast. And so I was like, you know what? If I left right now and was really fast, I'm going to get back 5 minutes before it starts. So, yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later.
Awesome.
But you had a really, really good weekend as well, right? You played some Magic or went to a Magic tournament?
Yeah, I was also sitting like at a Magic tournament and I was like, dude, if I go home now, I could make it into a Showcase Challenge. But then I didn't. So yeah, two Painter players, two different ideas. I was at the Etc. Magic tournament. I didn't get to play. I was playing with my nieces in the morning, so I only joined in the afternoon to watch and take a couple of pictures. And yeah, we got a turnout of 46 players at
So
Etc.
good. 46 is amazing.
It's great. It's one of the better ones. I think we've sometimes had like over 50, but 46 is definitely one of the better. And we even had 15 new faces, like 15 people who have never played at Etc. before. So it's growing like crazy.
That's what you want. Like when, again, I'll compare it to our London events. Like we have our old faithful that are always coming, but the ones that I like the best are like the ones that have newer players and, you know, they learn about it and they have a good time and say, oh, I'm going to come back next time, etc. So that's great.
Yeah, and I remember like at the end where we were just like sitting there and then having dinner and everything. So many people came by and just said, "Hey, dude, guys, this is just like the greatest event in Southern Germany. We'll take it." We don't know if it's true. There's a couple of other great events in Southern Germany as well. And something I also liked, somebody I think who didn't finish very highly in the tournament, like rather towards the low end of the standings. And I believe she told one of the guys, this is just like one of the chillest, best tournaments she has ever played in, and was like, yeah, cool. This is just like, you know, when even the people who don't do well feel like great about the tournament and want to come back, it's just like it makes the whole experience all that much more wholesome.
100%. I've had that from one guy stands out who's had a similar thing. I was kind of like, whenever actually for the ELM invite LLM, I wasn't playing, I was just kind of spectating and stuff, so make sure it all ran as smooth as ever. And there was a guy on the bottom tables, and he was just having the time of his life, and I was watching the match. He was playing like old school Grix Control and Colligan's Commands and etc. etc. And I talked to him afterwards, and we were like kind of gushing about how much we liked the deck. And he was like, yeah, man, I'm 2-4, but having the time of my life. I'm like, that's...
Too far is fine. Like, if one more win, it's basically 50-50.
One more win? I'm going to question your maths there.
Cool, yeah, so that's what I did yesterday.
Nice.
Afterwards, I still wanted to play, right? So I jumped into Magic Online and I was like, hey, we don't have any kind of content. I'm just going to, like, rip off a 5-0 with Painter, and that's going to be the main topic of the episode. And, like, look at this guy, right? I get the 5-0, Callum gets the, what was it, like 9-0 in the Swiss or something, and then, like, the 6-0 or something in the Swiss on the previous day. Dude, you're crazy, man.
Yeah, so I did well in the challenges. I top 8 at both, which
we talk about that. So yeah, cool. So yeah, first of all, we're gonna go over the Cetera tournaments. Then we're gonna talk to Andy, because Andy is actually like an amazing deck builder. Haven't I mentioned that yet, Andy? I'm sorry, I'm really not doing you any justice. We're gonna talk about not only Naya Stompy, but especially Naya Stompy. We received a lot of questions from you, mainly from, I think, Callum's friends, as well as Discord, who are, of course, also all Callum's friends, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we're going to go over all the paintings that Callum has done over the weekend on Magic Online. But before we got into that, very quickly, something was pointed out to me. Daybreak Games, who have taken over the running of Magic Online, basically, they released their first list of 5-0 lists, and they literally released every 5-0 list. What do you think about that?
I'm going to step in and say there's something up. So there was a thing a few days ago where Standard, they posted like 80% of the lists were all like mono blue tempo, which is a deck in Standard. And if you go onto the link you've put in our show notes for like, quote unquote, all the 5-0s, there's not a single Delver deck. So
yeah, that's weird, right? I actually wanted to see them. And then when I couldn't find Delver, I think next thing I looked for was like Lightning Bolt or something, which is not exactly the smartest thing, I guess. But yeah,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Delver got a 5-0 in a league the last week. It's crazy, I know, but I have a feeling it did. So I think Daybreak is just having a bit of trouble moving stuff over. There's also been like lists and placings are wrong. So for the challenges this weekend, I was top of the Swiss both times, and it says I came first both of them, but spoiler, I lost both quarterfinals. So, but it says I'm first on both of them, but it's just the Swiss standings. And
I mean, if the overlords say you're first, then you should demand first prize payout.
my MTG Goldfish looks pretty good. But
honestly, seriously, like if you send this to their support system and you're like, you know what, I only received like this 8th place prize, and here's a link, it's gonna confirm I won the tournament.
I have a feeling they'll look into it and be like, shut up. There's another weird thing going on where McWinsource noticed this. His list that got posted for top 32 in the Showcase Challenge yesterday had a few cards different than what he actually played, and he has proof because he surgicaled himself mid-match against Reanimator because they tried to reanimate his thing. So
I guess you could also see why sideboarding, but sure.
Yeah. So, true. But anyway, my point is they're moving everything over from the WotC servers, and there's a bit of a mess. So
okay,
gotta be patient with that.
So what you're telling me is you actually didn't 9-0 the Showcase Challenge? It's just like
1-8, you know?
Yeah, something like that. But cool, yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that, because if they actually end up posting all the 5-0 lists, I think we're gonna get still not the best overview of leaks. There's this controversy about like, oh, Derva is like 9%. No, Derva is 25%.
Well, it's clearly 0% at the moment.
Right now, it's unplayable. It's over. The ban. Who needs a ban? Like,
let's unban Dreadful Darkness and Ragavan.
Cool. Oh, we'll see about that. So yeah, first of all, let's quickly go into what's happened at Etc. Dude, that was amazing. Like, if you go to a tournament and you don't even get to play, like I initially just wanted to hang around for like a round or two, take a couple of pictures, and that was it. But in the end, I think I stayed for something like 4.5 rounds. We played 6 rounds altogether, and I watched so many amazing decks. And one of the reasons is I keep going back to Naya Stompy, dude. And this is just like I can't wait to talk about this. No, but seriously, like maybe we quickly go over the results. First place, Andreas Rating. First time playing Blue-Red Delver, took down the tournament. I asked him afterwards how he feels about it, and he literally told me, this Merc Tech card is ridiculous. You need to ban this dragon. It doesn't make any sense. It was just like, he had so much fun with the card in the tournament. I watched a couple of his matches, and he was like up against the Beta Skull and everything, and he was just like, lol, dragon, how brutal.
I did have it was fun to watch, like, but it was so brutal. I played a game in one of the matches yesterday where they had like 2 DRC start or something and loads of baubles. So by turn 4, they'd played 3 Murktides and like grown all the other ones. It was just like mental.
Yeah.
Or maybe turn 4, sorry. Yeah.
I'm looking at the list right now. It's pretty straightforward. 2 Pyroblast is usually like somewhat more uncommon in smaller tournaments, but I guess, yeah, we talked about like, do you even like sideboard for 3 Maddening Hex in the sideboard? Dude, this list is actually geared towards our meta game.
That's crazy. Because Andreas, he's very clocked into like doesn't play Magic Online much, but he's very clocked into what's current and what's top and stuff. So I would expect him to be playing like 2 Pyroblasts and stuff. But
How do you know Andy so well?
I've met him loads of times at events.
You literally know everybody. This is actually, I've known Andy for like over 10 years. It's like a local player, but who also like had aspirations and once even went to the Pro Tour and everything. But
yeah, I've met him at MKMs and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just like blown away. Awesome.
Anyway, three Madney Hex is quite a statement. I haven't seen that before. Like I think Delver started with 2 when it first kind of dropped and stuff, and then they have moved away slowly. Sometimes you see 1, but the card's kind of fallen off. It's not as good as people thought, I think. But 3 is now just like, yeah, I'm not losing to combo.
Yeah, pretty much. Another card I'm actually seeing in sideboard that I literally just had to look up on Scryfall is Smash to Dust. Do you know what that card does?
I do. It's the new one, right? It's 1 in a red. You can either destroy an artifact or deal 1 damage to all creatures.
Or destroy target creature with Defender.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
Fruits, man.
How could I miss that? What is the most playable Defender creature in Legacy?
Is it Wall of Fruits?
Andy, help us here.
And he's actually the one who was here. Yeah, sure.
No, I'm not sure.
There's probably like something amazing.
If you know what the most playable Defender creature in Magic in Legacy is, hit us up on Twitter @EternalMTG and let us know. Also, let us know in the Discord
because that's probably why he's playing these sideboard cards.
And yeah, the oppressiveness of the wall stack. Yeah, that must be it. I wonder. Maybe we can eventually overcome it. But if you got something better than Wall of Roots, definitely let us know.
That's a lot of artifact hate between 2 smashes and 2 meltdowns.
Yeah. The smash is cool. It's the destroy an artifact. It's a nice modal spell. Like the meltdown, I guess, is for the 8 cast, and then smash you probably bring in just because it kills Chalice, and it can like clear some Thopter tokens, but it's not great outside of that. I feel like these damage-based sweepers have just like reached a point where they have to deal 3 damage to kill Dragon Rage Channeler, though. Like, I do see rough tumbles and stuff in sideboards of Delver still, and it's okay, but like, I don't know. I've seen Fire Spouts in the blue Zenith decks recently, and I think that's where you need to be for these kind of things. Obviously, you can't play it from Delver because you'll kill your own Dragon Rage Channeler, so it doesn't make sense here.
I mean, give it another year or 2 and it's going to say creatures your opponents control or something.
Yeah, probably. Just
there's one in the
damned.
next set that might show up. There's one that like does 3 to everything or destroys all artifacts that cost 3 or less.
We don't talk about that on a painter-friendly podcast, I'm afraid. Yeah, I think that card, what's it called? Brothers War? The Brothers...
Yeah, they named it after the set, exactly.
Yeah, the Brotherhood's End, sorry.
Okay,
so yeah, it deals 3 damage to each creature in each Planeswalker or destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. I think that is an amazing effect for 3 mana, but it's 1 double red, so double red is just such a big cost in Legacy where red is usually a splash color.
I mean, we could play it in Painter.
Yep, true. I'll let you test it out and come back to me on that.
Yeah, I shall do. So yeah, Andy took down the entire event. He actually wanted to play out the quote-unquote finals, right? Usually people at 5-0, they just draw and get first and second. But he didn't say it. We just like thought maybe that was the motivation. We have an end-of-year invitational for all the winners, and I guess also the best ELO-rated players of the year or something. And Andy had not won an invite yet, but I guess he really wanted the invite, so he actually came in and destroyed... Who was in second place? Second place is Severin Schwarzhuber, supporter of the podcast, patron of the podcast. Shoutouts to him and his 5-1 Esper Cephalid Breakfast in brackets no Yorion list. This was almost like a Yorion free tournament, like looking at most of the deck lists. So yeah, Severin got second place. I got the list open over here. I think this is Esper, right? Yeah, from what I can see, this should be.
So there's 2 Cabal Therapies for the black, and then there's 2 Divining Witch in the sideboard as well. So Cephalid Breakfast is in a really interesting spot. So we'll touch on it later. Our friend Francis Calper also top-8'd the Showcase Challenge yesterday with similar-ish to this. So Stoneforge Mystic is incredible in this deck because it can obviously get the... actually, he's playing Battle Skull, not the Cauldron Complete, which is... I like Cauldron Complete. It's just... It puts such a fast clock, too. And it makes them answer it, and then you're like... You have breathing room to combo and stuff. But it also finds Shuko, which is another combo piece. He's playing like... So there's a few directions. There's like... I think Javier plays Yorion, and he plays like a much more fair game. He has more recruiters, lots of recruiter targets. I think he sometimes plays Vial. I'm not sure if he still does now. But then this list has 2 recruiters and like a Cavern of Souls. And It's not as combo focused as Francis, who plays 3 Teferis and 2 step throughs and 4 dazes and no recruiters, and he even plays 2 Shukos and 4 Urza Sagas to find the Shukos. So it's much more combo focused. But it has this Stoneforge Mystic for Cauldra backup plan, which is just very strong with 4 days and 4 Force of Will and 3 Teferi in the deck as well. So
yeah, the sideboard is quite something, right?
Yeah, and then the sideboard. Absolute Law, I love that card. Even as a person playing a red deck mostly these days, it's just a cool card.
All creatures gain protection from red enchantment.
Yeah. 2 Divining Witch, I love this card as well. This is something that we saw pop up a bit in some Doomsday sideboards, and then there's been some kind of like Esper Vial based decks, but not like Esper Vial as we know it with Recruiter, like just playing Strixes and other value Esper stuff, but then it actually combos with Thassa's Oracle and Divining Witch. So Divining Witch, it's just a very odd card.
he actually told me like the entire idea is that you get to dodge some more hate postboard, and in order to make that work, right, you need to protect your creatures, and you gotta protect the Divining Witch and the Thassa's Oracle that you're gonna use to win. And you use Absolute Law, you use something like Grand Abolisher or Mischarm to make all of that work. And yeah, I just like haven't seen that kind of approach in this deck in quite a while. I actually have a couple of Divining Witches lying around. It's one of the very few cases where I speculated on a card. I think about like 8 copies of this one.
So
you did?
Yeah, I've got a few as well, just because it's such a cool card, and I've played it with Oracle a few times. But just so people know what it does, it's a 2-mana 1/1, and for 1 and a black, you can tap it, discard a card, and you name a card, and then you remove the top 6 cards of your library from the game, reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal the named card, then put that card into your hand, remove all other cards revealed this way from the game. So what you're going to do here, you have, is it 1 Thassa's Oracle in the deck? Yeah. So you'll activate it, name Thassa's Oracle, hope it's not on the top 6 cards, because that would then like exile it in your deck yourself. But you take the Thassa's Oracle, and then you play the Thassa's Oracle, and then in response to the trigger, you can activate Divining Witch again, and name You're Already Dead, or something that's not in your deck, and then you'll exile your whole deck and win with the trigger.
Yeah, I guess you actually have additional copies of Thassa's Oracle in here. So
there's 2 more sideboard. So yeah. So I
makes
guess
it a little bit weirder, right? Because then you would use the Witch a couple. I guess the idea is you would have Thassa's Oracle in hand already, because
yes,
I'm pretty sure you can also Wizard Cycle for it with Step Through.
Yes, yeah. So Step Through is a card that's basically 2 mana instant, can't be countered. Search for a wizard. So it actually costs like 5 mana. You bounce 2 creatures to hand, but it's got Wizard Cycling. So Wizard Cycling is the Cephalid Illusionist is a wizard, and the Thassa's Oracle is a wizard. So it's a pretty cool just tutor for like 2 parts of your combo.
Basically a Harry Potter deck.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have, so he's got 2 more Thassa's Oracle on the sideboard. If you have that naturally, it saves you a whole turn cycle of activating Divining Witch, because you can just play the Oracle from hand and then activate Divining Witch.
And the Grand Abolisher, from what I was told, also did a lot of work. At least from his opponents. Was it Mark Vogt who told me he actually basically kind of lost? Oh yeah, he was sitting there behind I believe he had like 4 counter spells and even like creature removal spells in hand. And Severin at the end of Mark's turn just went Wild on 2. Yeah, Grand Abolisher GG. Like instantly over. Like you can't do anything. Grand Abolisher. I'm trying to remember from memory. It's like opponents can't like cast spells or use abilities. It's like completely locked out.
Pretty much.
On your turn, or actually no, at instant speed.
It's during your turn, your opponent can't cast spells and activate some kind of abilities.
Oh, so you don't do it in end step, so you do it in your own main phase.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
So yeah, that's second place, 5-1. Third place, we got Mark Vogt at 5-1 as well, with usually like I want to say like Mark plays pretty boring decks. I'm sorry, Mark, at least lately. But he has something like super interesting in the deck list, and he's playing 1 copy of Thwart.
I don't
even remember the mana cost, right?
Oh come on,
it's like triple blue.
No, it's 2 and 2 blue, and it's
I'm so bad.
Counter target spell,
foil, right?
And you can return 3 islands to your hand instead of paying its mana cost. This is some Phil Blackman tech. So
is it really?
Yeah. I know they talk about it in the Miracles chat and stuff, so I think Mark got the idea from him. But Phil's been banging on about this like since Mystic Sanctuary got printed, basically. He's been playing it in his just like Turbo Miracles, still playing 1 or 2 entreats and like 3 Terminus probably.
Turbo Miracles.
Something like that. Turbo control you. Yeah.
Turbo Miracles.
Yeah, I mean, As a one-off, it's kind of cool, right?
I just love the artwork. Like I'm just like a sucker for my KD Mask foils, and of course Mark's entire deck is foil and altered and everything. So when I see a foil throughout, I'm just like super happy. And you know, I only like after he told me about it and I thought about it, I realized, well, it's also like there's some interaction with Uro, right? Because Uro is gonna give you additional land drops, so it's not as painful. I mean, bouncing 3 islands is still kind of painful, but at least you get the extra value from the Mystic Sanctuary, and you like don't fall behind as crazy on land drops if you like build ahead with Uro or something. I don't know, man. I'm trying to talk myself into this actually being a mainstay card.
He's also this is going to sound super boring, but what strikes me the most from this list is actually 3 Force of Negation main deck. He's playing a Force deck, like, so he's obviously got the 4 Force of Will and 3 Force of Negation. That's not common in these kind of 4-color control decks. You often see like 2 sideboard now.
Yeah, I believe like the whole approach to this is like, I have so much value and I'm so powerful. The only thing I really fear is my opponent like running me over on the first 1, 2, or 3 turns or something.
What happened against Naya Stompy, by the way? Do you want to tell that story?
Oh yeah. Well, I was actually watching from the side of 7th place, Daniel Rehmann playing Naya. It says depth on document. Oh my god, I'm gonna give myself an F- or something. It's Naya Stompy, of course. Okay, here we go. Daniel Rehmann, friend of the podcast as well. And he played against Mark and he tried everything. Like, he presented an assault that most people would probably just roll over and die in Legacy. So he went first, turn 1. Wild Plume Adventurer. Mark forces it. Turn 2, Minsk and Boo. Mark forces it. Turn 3, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Mark forces it. Turn 4, Minsk and Boo. Mark forces it. Turn 5, White Plume Adventurer again. I look at Mark's hand, and he literally still has Force of Will plus Force of Will in hand. But he lets it resolve because at that point he could deal with it and everything. But what the fuck? He even put another Force of Negation on the top of his library with Mystic Sanctuary, which he actually was quite unhappy about now, because then he got the initiative and he had to search his library and he shuffled it away. But
yeah, take that.
This fucking guy, man. I mean, he had Sylvan Library going. He was literally on 3 life between forcing and fetching and Sylvan Librarying without his opponent. Like, he literally took 16 life loss until the like 4th turn or something.
Just riveting gameplay. Why would you not just force everything? Legacy's so easy, guys. We've solved it. Just force everything.
Yeah, and you know what? In the second game, biggest mistake, he didn't force the first spell that was presented to him, which was a Mox Diamond. He had the Force of Negation for it. And yeah, then Daniel got the White Plume Adventurer down, and it literally went all the way.
Nice. That card can do it. It's just...
Yeah, especially against a deck playing 7 forces and what have you, right? Throughout Leyline, but I guess Leyline Binding could eventually do something, but it was too slow.
Yeah.
It was just like too fucking slow.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, so... Yeah, did he tell you how Thwart did?
He liked it. He liked it quite a lot.
Cool.
Definitely no chance of ever playing a second copy, but he was really very, very happy about it. We took actually top 8 screenshots, I was going to say, pictures by the end of the tournament, and Mark didn't want to show the cards he won. He instead showed me Terminus, Chase, and Thwart as like the 3 cards that made his deck at that point. By the way, another awesome thing, he actually played the Savior, the Messiah, Leyline Binding.
I played against Leyline Binding yesterday.
You know what it did for him?
What?
So the opponent attacked with a Krotov Behemoth. Mark Leyline Binding did. The opponent was like, okay, sure. Proceed to the Leyline Binding, get the trigger again.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's the kind of play that tickles me. Like, that's just awesome. Excellent.
It's absolutely excellent. So yeah. That was Mark's deck. The decklists, by the way, are all going to be found on, oh my god, I run the Twitter account, I literally don't remember. It must be etc. Match. Yeah, it's etc. Magic. At etc. Magic on Twitter. So here we go. Then 4th place, Konstantin Basalik, and he played to a 4-1-1 finish, playing Dragon Stompy. Let me actually switch over to the decklist over here. Wait, did he actually play Dragon Stompy?
Yeah, well, Moon Stompy, whatever you want to call it now.
Oh, the decklists are...
it looks pretty standard. He has 2 Squee Dubious Monarch, which is cool, and a Vandal Blast in the sideboard. A hateful person. But
yeah, dude, artifacts, man. Everybody hates artifacts these days.
Just play something that like beats Chalice for 8 cast. That's my gripe. But yeah, otherwise looks pretty standard. You got like 3 hearses, 3 Trinispheres, lots of 3-drop red creatures. that's our Moon Stompy.
That's the one of Sulfur Elemental. I was talking to a friend of mine who ended up not playing the tournament, but if he was going to come, he was going to play Death in Texas. And I told him, dude, if you had played in this tournament, 100% chance he would have been paired against Konstantin, and he would have had the one of Sulfur Elemental against you for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it happens all the time, right?
Deserved, I'm sure. It's not the 4 Furies in the deck that would do it. It's the Sulfur Elemental.
Or the 2 fiery confidences.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, dude, these. I mean, I love these kind of stories that are sometimes told by local meta games, because you eventually you notice certain trends of what people like to play, and I guess it's a lot of multicolor and artifacts. Like, artifacts are just like so popular.
I feel like he has 10 cards to bring in against Death in Texas.
Doesn't everyone? Just like, everything's good against you.
Oh, is that why Death in Texas plays like 80 cards now? They just like need more cards to beat us.
More cards.
Everything can be answered.
Yeah.
Cool. So good job on the top 4. Then in 5th place we have Tobias Kreitmeier, 4 and 2.
Okay, tell me about this deck. This is wild.
Yeah, I opened this up and I literally thought this was like a decklist error. Like, I thought this was like a deck registration error when I read, like, this is, okay, I was told this is lands. I think that's what the decklist, okay, he calls it Dark Echo, 8 mulch lands, whatever. I'm loving it.
Yeah, fairly accurate.
It's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. So imagine the traditional 8 mulch deck with like 4 mulch and 4 winding way, which usually like we see that in very aggressive builds of lands, right?
Mm-hmm. And
like
they usually
and stuff.
They usually have like 3 or 4 Field of the Dead, and they're just playing 4 mana bond and expirations. They're basically mulliganing to that, and they do play Life from the Loam, but it's more of a Field of the Dead, mulch and winding way than a lands based like control or combo deck.
Yeah, it's like a dredgeable way to make more tokens, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we got this here. We also got like 3 copies of Field of the Dead, but now we are also playing 3 copies of Uro. I mean, I guess, you can, especially with exploration and stuff. You're gonna get there pretty quickly.
Seems great with mana bond as well and stuff.
Yeah. And then we have just like, I'm loving this. I've never seen this before. We have 4 copies of Echo of Eons, which, when you think about it kind of makes sense with mana bond, right?
Yeah.
And mulch and winding way.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah, I've never seen it before either. It's really, really cool. Like, a thing with these kind of decks is they're a bit weaker to just like a Force of Will on the exploration or the mana bond.
I guess somewhat of a problem is you don't always know whether you want to force the exploration. I usually do most of the time. There's not too much else, unless they play like Valakut explorations, but especially in the first game, you don't really know.
Yeah, like I basically almost never force explorations from lands, but here you against 8 mulch you would if you know what it is, and mana bond you probably would, but then Echo gives this way to just like play out some of your lands and then just Echo again and stuff.
Yeah, you better use your first early, because Tobias is also playing 2 copies. Like, we're playing 3 copies of Busichu, but 2 different cards. That's 1 Busichu who shelled us all, and 2 Busichu who endures. So we can even make our Echo of Eons uncounterable.
Yes. I didn't see that, actually. Yeah.
That's amazing. And on top of that, of course, we also have the Thespian Stage, Dark Depth combo, single copy of Maze of Earth, but we don't have... Okay, I guess I'm looking at the traditional lands card that we're not playing, which is like Crop Rotation, Punishing Fire. Makes sense.
No Mox Diamond as well.
You have a Breeding Pool. That's... I guess that's because of Field of the Dead. 1 Breeding Pool and 1 Tropical Island.
Yeah, like you sometimes see Stomping Ground in lands if they have Fields of the Dead as well.
Well, I guess we can't split the basic lands. We're only playing 1 each. Okay, makes sense.
And the sideboard has some cool ones. So 4 Ancient Grudge, it's not too uncommon here. 2 Memories Journey. So it's really banking on like milling stuff with mulch and winding way, or discarding 2 mana bonds. Is this the
closest we have come to a Bazaar deck in Legacy now?
It kind of is. I think it plays similarly. Like, you get all the lands and then you just get incremental value from discarding things. Turn the Earth is actually one I don't remember what it does. I remember roughly what it does.
It's like the owner of 3 target cards in graveyards, shuffle them into their libraries, I think.
Yeah.
And you gain 2 life.
Yeah, and it's got a flashback as well, right? Yeah, so it's like 1 mana first, and then 2 to flashback. You can get Doomsday with it.
You can also get Cephalid Breakfast with it, because they can't Cable Therapy it, and when they go for Dread Return, that Dread Return is going to be wasted.
It'll beat Shuko, but not
I think it should be both, right?
No, because if you shuffle 3 cards in response to the trigger, they'll just activate Nomads again.
Yeah, but then Dread Return is going to resolve without a target, and it's going to be exiled.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's actually what happened in their match, but Severin had the Force of Will for the turn the Earth.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Cool.
Yeah, I actually thought he was really going to get him with the turn the Earth. That seemed kind of cool, but yeah.
That's cool, yeah. And then Tower of the Magistrate, I guess, for like Stoneforge, just like Caldra, just on a
Caldra is one of the way. Yeah, Caldra, I guess. We also have Mace for it, but
yeah.
It also lets you kill through like a bunch of Thopters with your Merit Liege.
Yes, true, very true.
Oh, Callum Julian taught me about this.
Yeah. I actually just forgot. I'm so focused on the Echo and stuff that I've completely forgot that it has Merit Liege.
The Echo is just like a way to reload at this point, right?
Yeah, this deck's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. So, Andy, you've been playing like a bunch of lands-based decks as well, and your red-green Valakut deck was red-green, but then you've been splashing for blue recently. It's kind of similar to this.
Yeah, I've been playing some blue exploration decks. I haven't done much depths stuff. But yeah, this is really cool. I really like the sideboard. I love how everything is just like fine to discard to your mana bond on turn 1.
Yeah. And then again, the mulch and the winding ways just put you in the graveyard.
This is awesome.
Just when like drawing 3 lands isn't enough, you need to draw 3 lands and just get a spell as well.
Yeah.
I think this deck could be a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I'm going to jam it for sure.
Cool. Then 6th place, Christian St. Johansa, also known as Staubsauger. I played with that guy for basically ever since I started playing Magic, a Legacy in Munich. He went 4-1-1 with Band Kitten combo. Did I label that correctly?
Yep, looks like it. That's impressive because I've been so unimpressed with Kitten decks in Legacy. So doing well is impressive to me.
I'm just like looking at this, and this looks exactly how he's built his decks like for 15 years at this point. This is literally like you pull out your trade binder, you're like, 2 Spare Pierce, 1 Monastery Mentor, a Chrome Mox, like 1 Supreme Verdict. Yeah, we're gonna get there. That's fine. And then the sideboard is pretty much the same, right?
So I'm not super familiar with these decks. So remind me, the combo is just Teferi, Kitten, and then a 0-drop.
Exactly. So you can use any 0, and then you'll the Teferi will bounce the 0, and then you'll play it again. You'll flicker Teferi. Yeah. Or so, you flicker the Teferi with the cat, and then you'll bounce it again. So you draw your deck with a 0. And then, so this one doesn't actually have a Wink on Raptor. What you can do is, so the Chrome Mox, when you draw that, you can start imprinting stuff and making some mana. So maybe you can then go Karn, like you're netting mana each time as well for each card spell.
I guess you can do like Monastery Mentor, make it really big.
Yeah. But
and there must be something in the sideboard you can get, like Mickelson Lattice, Walking Ballista.
So you can go Karn Lattice, but this is close to what when the deck was like, after playing it a bit online, I noticed that I don't think you should actually have a Wink on for when you draw your deck, because you're playing Force of Wills and Source of Plowshares. You're drawing your deck. Like, you don't need to do anything. You can draw your deck and then just like kill everything and force everything and then just draw 7 more cards every turn. You're drawing as many cards as you want every turn. And your opponent can't interact because you have a Teferi. So just have the perfect hand every turn and kill them with the cat and whatever else.
But I think Karn does kill them, because I think you go... Like, once you have Karn in play, you get Crypt, which flickers Karn, and then you get Petal, which flickers Karn, and then you can get the Crypt again, because that's in exile now, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you just keep doing that.
There is the Karn kill. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Help me out. I wasn't following.
So as long as you have a Tormod's Crypt and any other 0 in your sideboard, you play the Karn, you minus it, you go and get the Tormod's Crypt, and then when you play the Crypt, the Displacer Kitten flickers the Karn, and then the Tormod's Crypt, when you activate it, it exiles itself, and you can get it again with the Karn.
Yeah, so I think it's you get Crypt, flicker Karn, you get Petal, flicker Karn, and then you sack Petal for mana.
Lotus Petal in the sideboard.
Yeah, and then you sack Crypt, and they're both
super thought out.
And so then you just keep doing that, and that's infinite mana, and then you get Ballista.
Yes, that makes sense. There we go. I'm glad we have someone smart on the podcast.
I'm actually very impressed by you guys here. This looks like something you would print into, like, back before the times of the internet. You would print this into, like, I don't know, what did we have, like Inquest or whatever those magazines were called?
Oh,
like,
Inquest was great.
Figure this out and send us a letter until the next month or something, how you're going to win with this deck on the turn that you go for the combo.
Yeah, I would just look at those religiously. That was great. There was an amazing one of those, which was past the time of magazines and stuff, but there was actually no answer to it. It was awful, but it was so convoluted with like 50 cards in play, and you could almost get there, but it was actually impossible to do.
Well, that's actually the worst if you print that and that's just like a mistake. And like, can you imagine like how many hours are wasted like all across the world of people trying to figure
I spent
it out?
hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on it, even knowing it's impossible. I was like, there's got to be a way. I'm determined to find it, but obviously not.
It reminds me like that, that I believe it's like the FBI has put out like some really hard to break codes, and I think they even printed them on the outside of the building or something. And they were like, if you ever like are able to break this code, then we will hire you. And I believe after like 10 or 15 years, they actually had to correct one of those because they realized, we actually made a mistake in it. We are sorry. It's actually supposed to be this and this.
Nice.
So we're going to quickly skip our 7th place and talk about 8th place, Mario Egoavel. I hope I didn't butcher your name. 4-2, another 8-mulch lands list. And this is basically what we talked about earlier, right? This is much more closer to traditional 8-mulch.
Yeah. Got the 2 turn to earth and sideboard as well. They were really ready for the Cephalid breakfast, huh?
And a drop of honey, man.
And 2 flame jabs. Oh, I love flame jab.
These decks really love like just playing from the graveyard.
Yeah. It's weird. Like it's actually a good spot to be in because like looking at this and talking about the sideboard and how they have so many cards that like they want the graveyard for. They also just don't they just play out the lands like they with the expiration and mana bond. They just like puke a ton of lands into play, and it puts the pressure in play straight away with like the combo or the Field of the Deads and stuff. And then if you like spend some time to play a Rest in Peace or something, it's just not really gonna catch you up.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if Wizards is ever gonna print hear me out, a 2-mana Pyroblast with Retrace.
Do you think that'd be good?
I think it would be insanely good, right? 2-mana Pyroblast and you can play it by discarding a land.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Yeah, I don't think
if you have that like in the graveyard, like you trade all your excess lands for counterspells for Expressive Iteration and Murktide.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty insane.
Cool. Yeah, I'd play that. Yeah, deal. Fine. Can you message Wizards of the Coast?
Oh yeah, they're still working on Leyline of the Choke.
Okay.
We figured out.
Leyline and the Blood Moon coming soon.
So yeah, and here's the reason why we skipped our 7th place, because that's actually Daniel Rayman playing Naya Stompy, and up until the 4th round or even 5th round, Daniel was undefeated. He was like 4-0. He was playing for 5-0 against the eventual winner, Andreas Railing on Blue Red Delver. Ended up not winning, but that match was amazing. Like Andy, I guess, had not yet played against any of the what do we call it? Like initiative card, adventure cards? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people haven't. It's an experience.
Yeah, and Daniel had to explain so many of the interactions. Like, and you, I also got the Undercity. Oh, you have another Undercity for me? Oh my god!
That's the thing. Before we dive into this really quickly, at the beginning I was a bit like not annoyed, but I was just having to keep up. But at the AXION events, I played against someone that played a Tome 1 Caves of Chaos Adventurer, and so I got the initiative after a couple of turns, and then I had to start tracking in which room I was in. He only had one of the cards, so I was having to write it down on my pad. I was like, so I'm in the Lost Well now, okay. And he took it back, so I was like, okay, so I stay in the Lost Well while you're now going into the Forgotten Caves or something, I don't know. And then he ended up completing it, and then he was like, okay, I'm going to go back in. It's like, wait, what? And so when you complete it, if you still have the initiative, you do go back in. And so we had to call the judge, and I was like, I'm sure he's right. I'm really sorry to ask this question, but can you confirm that he goes back into the Undercity?
I mean, where else would he be going, right?
Well, dungeons you complete and then you don't go back into the same one. But this
is that so? Can you like not complete the same dungeon over and over again? Isn't that how the Alluring combo works?
Oh, maybe it is. Okay, you're probably
right. I think it's just that the Alluring card specifically says like if you haven't completed so and so dungeon.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know.
It's an exciting ability in the sense that we're still discovering how it actually works and what it does.
My guy actually completed it, and like, so the last one is you look at the top 10 cards of your library, you put a creature into play, he gets 2/1/1 counters, and then hexproof until the end of turn. So you hit like a Fury off that. So you had a Fury, kill a bunch of my stuff, had a 5/5 double striking, hexproof until his next turn thing.
Yeah, I've hit some Morlocks with that. Fight thing.
Oh, so good. Yeah. The games are usually over before that happens, but yeah, seeing it happen was kind of cool. But yeah, tell us about Naya Stompy.
Yeah, so I watched two of his matches, basically the 5th and the 6th round. He got pretty close to beating Andy on Blue Red Dalva. In the end, Andy actually got there because he got to make his Dalva a 5-4 and also let Daniel lose 5 lives. So they basically they kept trading the initiative back and forth because Daniel was also attacking with, what's the flyer? Archon of Emeria. Archon was actually surprisingly good, like really good. I mean, I say surprisingly. I mean, everybody knows how good it is against fetchlands.
Yeah.
But my favorite interaction was that Andy tried to put I would believe, a game-winning Mystic Sanctuary into play and putting Lightning Bolt on top. But he actually caught himself right before he did it because it wouldn't come into play untapped, even though he had like all the islands necessary. Just because Archon says it comes into play tapped. It has like this weird clause where it needs to come into play untapped.
Yeah, it's not like it's not the 3 islands. It just comes to play untapped with the 3 islands, but it has to be untapped.
Yeah, I've had that come up before. It's nice.
Nice.
So yeah, it was pretty close, and yeah, Andy took it down, but Daniel gave him a really fair, really good fight.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then the last round I talked about it earlier, right? When Mark had just like that most insane defense, that was one of the craziest defenses I've ever seen somebody put up in Legacy. Daniel get to steal the 2nd game, and the 3rd game was rather drawn out again. But in the end, I think Daniel died with 4 red cards in hand and no way to cast them, and that was eventually his downfall.
Oh.
Yeah, but he also like he still put up a good fight. I think he might have even had another White Plume Adventurer in the first, and it was handled though. So yeah, dude, this deck is scary. I when we first talked about it, and I was like, dude, I'm not so sure about White Plume Adventurer, and then Callum was like, dude, I think this is actually the most impressive card in the deck. And I was like,
that was your first one. You were like, yep, this is on the chopping block. I'm going to cut it. I was like, no, this and Fable are the best cards.
Yeah.
Stop.
So before we share any more amateur opinions about this deck, Andy, can you tell us how you arrived at this? I was gonna call it pile of cards. I'm still gonna go by that, but it's amazing pile of cards.
Yeah, I can try. So I don't have a ton of experience with these.
Yeah, actually tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't want to like cut you short. Like,
Sure. Yeah, well, let's see. So I haven't played a lot of these Ancient Tomb City of Traitors decks in Legacy. I've done a lot of like veteran explorer stuff. Recently, I've obviously been doing a lot of like exploration Valakut stuff. I did the Orcish Lumberjacks.
You make it sound like you're like experimenting with drugs and stuff.
Well, I guess in some ways. But yeah, like this is kind of a shell that I haven't explored a ton. And I mean, like this specific build, I haven't tested a ton either because like a couple of the cards aren't online, so it's hard to get the opportunity to test it.
It makes it all the more impressive that you just like looked at this and you're like, Morlock, White Plume Adventurer, that's a deck.
Yeah, so I think Morlock's like less clearly good. I think it's decent. I think it's more replaceable. White Plume, like there have definitely been other people talking about it. I've seen a lot of sort of mono white lists with it. The big thing I think is just once you have White Plume, Mox Diamond gets pretty appealing because like White Plume, the first room gets you a land, and so like it's a lot easier to kind of have excess lands sitting around for your Mox Diamond.
Americans, they like this word they always use when they buy something to justify like big purchases. They always say, "Oh, but the cash back." And I guess that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then once you're white, you can't play Simian Spirit Guides. You kind of have to play Petal. And so then basically, once you have Petal, Mox Diamond, and White Plume, that's like so much free fixing that I think it's just like pretty easy to be at least a second color. I think the most obvious second color is red. Like we've seen, I think earlier in this top 8, we had a mono red Stompy deck. Like that's obviously a known thing. It's super powerful. Like the red cards are very strong.
Yet Fable is just like such an
Fable's the best, one of the best like Ancient Tomb payoffs we've seen
in
a very long time.
Like if you're talking about 3-drops that are good to play on turn 1, like obviously there's a ton of them, but Fable and White Plume are definitely like at the top of the list of like just powerful standalone 3-drops to play on turn 1. And then Fable also fixes your mana because it gives you the treasures of the shaman. And so now you just have like the core of your deck is all like mana fixing.
I never thought it from that angle. When I saw the deck, I was like, "What?" My first instinct was, "Why is it not just red-white? Like playing green for Minsk and Boo and Morlocks. Like, do you really need that? But you completely sum it up perfectly. It's just you actually have all this fixing by adding the second color. It's almost weird, like where you're better off having 2 extra colors than just 1.
Yeah, and I could certainly see playing like a red-white build. I could see playing a mono-white or mono-red still. Like I'm not saying that Naya is definitely the perfect place to be. I could even see splashing a different color instead.
Yeah,
but like Minsc and Boo is so powerful, and it's such a like unforgiving card to play on turn 2. Like if your opponent stumbles, they do just die to it.
Yeah, because your deck is also built to basically play a 3-drop turn 1 and a 4-drop turn 2, or another 3-drop turn 2.
Yeah,
Because you have the 8 Soul Lands, then you have 4 Mox Diamond and 4 Lotus Petal, and then as you said, the White Plume and the Fable are just by themselves ramping you into that 4-drop or extra 3-drop if you had to use a pedal and stuff.
Yeah, and it's very easy to have a super unstable mana base once you have like Mox Diamond, Petal, City of Traitors, right? Because it's like you have so much temporary mana and like manas that's like 2 for 1ing yourself. But like again, Fable and White Bloom just like stabilize it so much.
Yeah, I mean my experience with Fable is just from pain to really.
Yeah,
but it's so easy to understate how important just getting those treasures to cast your spells if your opponent's interacting with your mana production and stuff.
Yeah,
and especially when all your spells are as powerful as they are in this deck. Like every single card here, apart from like maybe like some of the saga targets and stuff and swords in the wrong matchups, but everything else is just like so powerful and just must answer. So just to give the listeners a rundown of the deck and the threats. So your threats are 4 Minsc and Boo, 4 Archon of Emeria, 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker, 4 Thornot Seer, and 4 White Bloom Adventurer. Like,
whoa,
those are so terrifying.
Sorry,
Morlock.
Like,
oh my god,
to a threat.
Well, I'm obviously putting Morlock in the removal spot. And I didn't forget it. Which will actually lead me onto something I wanted to, which is probably on a lot of people's minds, is you're playing 8 Soul Lands and tons of fast mana, no Chalice, but you're playing 4 Thought-Not Seers to Plowshares, 4 Source of Plowshares, and then there's a Relic and a Shadow Spirit in the deck, but they're Saga targets. But then you also have some 1-drops in the sideboard, like Path to Exile and Pyroblast. So can you tell us a bit about no Chalice?
Yeah, so I've definitely played some Chalice builds. I think it's clearly a powerful card. Like it will win you some games. It will do stuff that other cards can't do. I think, like when I was playing it, it's so difficult to replace Swords to Plowshares. Like I've played Prismatic Ending in Chalice builds. I played March of Otherworldly Light. I've played Solitude. I was even considering like there's a Oblivion Ring type thing from a recent set. I think it's like Touch the Spirit Realm or something.
Yeah, it's got cycling for one.
Yeah, I was considering that one.
I saw that in Modern on the weekend and was doing commentary for Energy.
Yeah.
That was actually like really cool.
That's pretty cool to blink White Plume and Thornot Seer, but...
Yeah, it was mostly like, it's a 3 mana sorcery speed answer, but then also it is an instant speed answer for like Marit Lage, which is kind of nice. Because I basically, when you're not playing swords, I was just finding that I would die to either a Murktide or an Uro or a Marit Lage. And like, there isn't really another good removal spell that answers all 3 of those. Like Ending answers Marit Lage at sorcery speed, which is pretty medium, and then Uro for 3 mana, and then doesn't kill Murktide. March of Otherworldly Light can like get Marit Lage at instant speed, but it doesn't get Uro unless you have like a lot of mana. It doesn't get Murktide unless you have a ton of mana.
Yeah, swords is just swords, isn't it?
Yeah, and like
it's just the best.
You can play Solitude. I think if you're just red-white, it'd be a little easier to play Solitude, but even then, it's like Solitude makes much more sense if you're like mono-white and you have the double-phased land and Chromox, because then you have like more white cards for that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like basically swords is just super like hard to replace. And it's possible you can get away without it. Like you certainly, obviously you can win some games without having Swords to Plowshares in your deck. And I think like the mono red deck kind of gets away with Blood Moon shutting off a lot of the stuff we just spoke about. Like Uro, Murktide and Marit Lage are like a lot easier or a lot less likely to get into play once you have Blood Moon in your deck.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's definitely the Blood Moon that's carrying that deck against it, not the Chalice. And I've seen plenty of Delver decks just play through Chalice, and a lot of decks in general just play through Chalice.
Yeah, and so when it comes to Chalice, like I think against the fair decks, like everything except for Delver, like, it'll have spots where it's good, but I think most decks except for Delver are at least prepared for it. Like they'll have Ending or whatever.
I guess there's a lot of combo decks that might still struggle.
Yeah. So it's definitely.
Oh, you said fair decks, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I definitely think of it as like an anti-combo tool. So Like, it is good against Delver, but, like, Swords is also good against Delver. And, like, I've definitely had games against Delver where they just, like, cast a bunch of 1-drops into my Chalice and then play a Murktide, and I still just die to it.
Yeah, I think that's quite familiar for a lot of Chalice players.
Yeah, and so, in my head, it's more of a anti-combo tool. And obviously, again, it will have its spots against fair decks, but it's...
keep going.
It's, it's more of an anti-combo tool. And so, I think it's more replaceable as an anti-combo tool than Swords is as a removal spell.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so you see it, like, here I've got as anti-combo tools Archon and Thought-Knot Seer, and you can play Trinosphere, you can play, like, Blood Moon even, it's like a fine card against some combo decks.
Yeah, even Blood Moon here makes sense. Or we were talked a bit about, like, so Urza Saga is the only thing that I questioned after, like, you know, looking at the deck after the event that you won and stuff. You then kind of said, yeah, that was not the best bit, and you could play Blood Sun in that spot. How about that?
Yeah. So I basically put in Saga and Gigantha, both of which I think I wouldn't play now. I put them both in as, like, sort of hedges against flooding out. Like, the deck plays 30 mana sources, I think. Like, it's a lot. And, like, I mean, these Stompy decks tend to have a lot. Fable helps a bit. And the mono red decks get to play Shatter Skull Smashing, which helps a bit.
Did you say you were not going to play Urza Saga going forward?
Yeah, I think I would play Blood Sun instead. I think I would, like, cut these Sagas and the 2 targets for, like, 4 Blood Suns and 2 other lands, like maybe Grove of the Burn Willows or something.
Well, that's interesting, because when I was watching at least Daniel's matches right on the weekend, I also saw a lot of situations where he could have technically, like, played Saga and slow played the Saga, and I guess sometimes it would be right, but his hand was just, like, so stacked. You always want to tap out every single turn, and you're like, do I want to play my Minsk and Boo on, like, turn 3 or on turn 5? And it's like, yeah, I want to play it on turn 3. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I was kind of going into it, like, worried that I was going to have just a bunch of hands that, like, play one thing, have it counted, and then just run out of gas. But, like, I mean, maybe I just drew well over the event, but, like, it didn't feel like I was running out of stuff very often. And so I think you might just not need Saga at all. And to be honest, I mean, Blood Sun kind of, like the fact that it cantrips, it sort of, like, doesn't make you run out of stuff any quicker anyway. So.
And you can't flood if your opponent's dead so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think one of the most questioned cards in here, other than White Plume Adventure, and I'm sorry for doing it, I'm literally holding 5 copies of it right now, is Thought-Knot Seer. I think Andrea Mengucci picked up the deck, right? And like, one of the first things he wanted to cut, if I remember correctly, Andrea, if you're listening to this, I could be totally off, but I think I heard that was Thought-Knot Seer.
Yeah, he wanted to cut Thought-Knot Seer, and he was very questioning Mox Diamond and the number of lands. But I did explain that White Plume grabs the land.
Okay.
So he wanted more lands or fewer?
He wanted more lands for the Mox Diamonds.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, like you say, the big thing is White Plume gets you a land.
Yeah.
So I think it's like 17 lands without the sagas. Is that correct? So 21 altogether.
I think
right
it's
now,
22
including...
total. It should be.
Oh, I could be totally off math-wise. So like 4, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You're right. 22.
Yeah. So I think without sagas, I'd probably be on 20-ish with the 8 artifacts.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I mean, you're gonna have hands where, you know, you're either like you're casting a couple of 3-drops in a turn or two, but the deck operates very well off just like a soul land and then a Mox Diamond, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have Minsk and Boo as the 4-drop, but the rest of the threats, apart from Thought-Knot Seer as well, and kind of Morlock are higher, but like Morlock curves with how the game progresses anyway.
Yeah. So just to touch on Thought-Knot Seer, so I do think it's not like the strongest card in the deck. I think it's fairly replaceable. I think it fills quite a nice role of just being generic interaction against like pretty much anything. I think one of the issues with a lot of the hate pieces that you can play is that they'll be good against some decks and not others, which is fine, and like there's nothing wrong with that. But like it's nice to have something that's just sort of generically interactive, and especially a lot of your draws are just like play a White Plume on 1. And then if you have any single piece of relevant interaction on the following turn, you probably just win, because it's like the game is over on turn 3. So you just need something. And I think Thought-Knot Seer and Minsk and Boo are sort of the most... They're like the least forgiving follow-ups to a turn 1 3-drop, I think. Like they both just end the game on turn 3, most likely.
That is a really, really important point, I think, to understanding this deck. It's not like where... I mean... Moonstompy's clock is very fast as well, especially with the turn Rabble Masters. But this deck has as fast a clock as you say. It can kill turn 3. Like turn 1 White Plume Adventurer is 15 damage, I think, by turn 3 on its own. So it's very easy to just play another threat on turn 2, and then you'll get there. This deck snowballs like nothing else. So, and by snowball I mean just in the first few turns as well. But as you said, because we played at the AXION event, and I kind of got I was wrecked by a turn 1 Archon. You were telling me just before, he was like, yeah, it's not that good against fair, but we'll see.
I think I even cited it out, and it's across the whole event, it's it would often get sided out, but in game 1, it would still just win the game on turn 1 because it's just
turn 1 Archon on the play.
It doesn't really matter what you're doing unless your hand is just all basics. Archon is gonna destroy you.
But then with this super fast clock, Morlock I think fills this kind of role, and swords honestly Your deck is dealing so much damage that maybe you add a turn onto it, but you're snowballing on the board, and so, as you said, anything that just comes down with interaction. So Morlock just coming down as even a 2/2 to eat a Delver or a Dragon Rage Chandler.
Yeah.
You need that removal to not lose the initiative, I guess.
Yeah, and if you compare
control of the board.
If you compare Morlock to something like Fury that the mono red deck plays, there'll be spots where Fury does stuff that Morlock can't, like killing multiple creatures. But Morlock is so flexible. I had a game against a mono black depths deck where they went turn 1 on the play, land, petal, Dark Confidant. And I just go land, petal, Morlock. My Morlock doesn't even survive, but it's just having a turn 1 removal spell was enough to keep them from doing their thing.
Because Stompy decks don't often have anywhere near as much interaction as this, really. Because you've got the Thornot Seers, the Archon I think counts, definitely. But it can just solo games as well. And then swords and Minskaboo's kind of removal.
Yeah.
It's so much interaction plus this blistering clock. It's really something.
Yeah, and it also means that post board you can just be so dense on interaction. I had a game against, or not a game, but I played against an elves deck, a Fiend Artisan elves deck. And post board you have all these Morlocks, all these swords, and then I bring in 2 paths, 2 Kozileks returns. And it's just that's so much for them to play through while you still have access to turn 1 3-drop, turn 2 4-drop. Do
you think there's a density where you have too much interaction, but when they're strapped to threats, it's not really, is it?
Yeah. So
if you have some, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say that's the really nice thing about Thought-Knot. I think is it's a bit of interaction that is just a 4/4. If that slot is Trinisphere or Blood Moon or something like that, it will still have spots where it just wins the game, but the fail case is the floor is much lower, right?
I'm also a really big fan of how your interaction differs. So depending on the matchup, once you understand that your Thornot's attacking the hand, Archon's attacking their development of mana and combo obviously. You have the swords for the board, you have Morlock for the board, and then you have the clock in Adventure and Minsk and Boo essentially. So it's depending on that, if you do have different options in your hand, it's differing rather than just lots of removal, for example.
Yeah, and I think it's quite easy to end up with too much of one or the other. And I'm certainly not saying this is the perfect balance, but I've been pretty pleased with the mix. Morlock, I was talking about the 4-drops being super unforgiving as a follow-up to a turn 1 3-drop. Morlock as well. You go turn 1 3-drop, if they play a creature and you play a Morlock, the game often just ends.
Yeah, I think in our game, you went turn 1 Archon. I was okay, sad, turn 1 Saga. And then you played a Minskaboo or something.
Yeah, maybe a Fable or something, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was a Fable, I think. And then I was okay, fine. I got a Engineer down. I was okay, I have the combo next turn because I have some 2 Simian Spirit Guides. You're here's a 5/5 Morlock. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh, brutal.
I just realized why I find this deck so appealing. It except for the Swords to Plowshares, all of this is giving me Vintage Workshop vibes. We're not even trying to cast something for 1 and 2. We're going straight into the 3 and 4s. And ideally everything on the first turn. Yeah. And that's just projecting that power, right? That just feels so good.
It's force checking as well, right? Have you had any games where you kind of get force checked too much? Do you have hands where you have 2 threats and then you peter out a little bit?
I think that's one thing that I got kind of lucky with at the event is that I think I didn't actually play against a lot of turn 1 forces. I played against some force decks, but I had a lot of just my turn 1 play resolving, and then even if they draw a force later, it's just not enough. I do think that's a spot where the sagas would look really good, is if your first 2 things get forced and then you play a saga, or if a saga was your land on turn 2 or whatever.
Yeah, very true, very true. But the threat density is still there. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it is just they have to have it, and if they don't, they die.
yeah.
So now you actually make me wonder: is there any place for what's it called, Caves of Koilos Adventurer, like the 4-mana initiative?
Yeah,
guy?
so there's that one. There's a white one as well that's 4 mana. Like there's a ton of 4-drops. Like they're all super powerful. Obviously, I went with Thought Not Seer, Minsk and Boo, and then like Morlock is kind of a 4-drop sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you wanted to just be red-white, you could easily play Caves of Chaos Adventurer, maybe the white one. There's probably some other 4-drops I haven't really considered, but like really the 4 doesn't have to be that good. Like if you're playing a 3 and then following up with a 4, like it doesn't really matter what the 4 is.
I think you sold me on the 3 colors though, like pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, like the man is definitely not perfect. Like don't get me wrong, and it does kind of require
you bad mouthing Mossfire Valley.
I kind of want a second, to be honest. Mossfire Valley is pretty good.
Oh man, so many people are buying foil Mossfire Valleys right now. I mean, they're amazing.
It doesn't do much that a tiger doesn't. It's basically if you have like specifically Soul Land Mossfire Valley, then you can play like a 3/3 Morlock is kind of the main thing. Like, it doesn't do a lot other than that a tiger
or if you do like the kind of Lurz Pedal or Mox Diamond into White Plume, get your planes for some reason.
Yeah, planes also works with it.
Yeah. But yeah,
cool. So we know you play at least I over the last week learned you play a lot of interesting decks. Is this your favorite right now? Or is there anything like where you feel like, dude, I actually want to go back to the Valakut deck or the Applejack deck, or is that just like something we haven't even seen yet?
So actually, you're probably not going to like this, but this is out of the 3 decks you just mentioned. This Naya one is probably my least favorite.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's the best. That's actually the best type of storytelling, because now people are like, "What? You just typed this up, and this is like the least favorite."
I think this may well be the most powerful, and certainly, like I think it's funny. I was saying to my friends like before both events that I thought the Valakut deck I bought was like better built out of the 2, but that this Naya one kind of had more potential out of the 2. Like if both decks were built perfectly, I thought this Naya one would be stronger in the long run.
How much like games did you get in with this and the Valakut deck before?
So the Valakut one, I played a lot of different builds online. This one, I played what I could online. Like I played some Caves of Chaos Adventurer ones. I played some.
Right, so just
like I was playing some of the sort of mediocre white 3-drops like Elite Spellbinder and I forget there's like a Peacekeeper from a recent set. Like when it enters, you like look at their hand and you can.
Oh yeah, it's like double white as well, isn't it?
I think that one's 2 and a white, but
no. Okay, fine.
Like it was decent, but it's like
doesn't
White
quite
Plume Adventure isn't and so like actual testing with this build, like literally a couple games, like not much.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean like the shell, like the rest of it, like without Morlock and White Plume, I played a bit online. But yeah, it's hard to gauge exactly how it would play out without getting to play those cards.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's talk about the other decks as well a bit. But just to close this out, is there anything you changed? So we talked about the Saga maybe being Blood Suns and a couple more lands. That's one option.
I guess if the Saga goes out, we would also take out 2 of the Saga targets, right? That leaves us.
So I think I'd cut the 4 Sagas and the 2 targets for like 4 Blood Suns and like probably 2 more lands. Probably like Grove of the Burn Willows would be my first thought, but I'd have to see if the total like coloured sources adds up. I think the Gigantha is just nonsense. It shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I had the same experience once where I played it with Painter, and I was like, I'm just like, have a big sign over my head saying, I'm not playing Chalice, I'm not playing Force, I'm not playing Endurance, I'm not playing Fury or Force of Vigor.
And like, even if it didn't give away that information, I think just the sideboard slot is just more valuable.
Yeah, I think I like cast it once and it got forced.
Yeah.
It's just whatever. So
but yeah, and then I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of other stuff that you can try. Like, I don't think. I would definitely encourage people not to like get too attached to this one list. Like, I think to me, the core is 4 Tomb, 4 City, 4 Mox, 4 Petal, 4 Fable, 4 White Plume. And then I think what you do after that is like completely up to you. I think you can do whatever you want.
It's the Andy Fernandes show.
Yeah. So yeah, you could just go red white obviously with this base. I that sounds great to me as this base. They are just the best cards in the deck.
Yeah. And I think you have to ensure that you have some creature interaction. Like if you're just red white, it could be Fury Solitude. If you're like obviously here I have Swords Morlock. It could be something else. You can do like Punishing Fire if you have Grove.
Yeah, maybe that's your flood insurance.
Yeah, and and
I
think you need like some
to be a 3/2.
you need some like anti-combo stuff. Like here I have Archon and Thought-Knot, and they both overperformed. Like they both overperformed against fair decks as well, which was a big deal.
They're just generically powerful as well, right?
Yeah.
Archon is the lower floor, I'd say, probably. But
like Archon was sided out more. Thought-Knot's here, I don't think I ever sided out.
Yeah, I think so. It's just such a raw power card. Did you ever... Actually, I'm having more questions now. Did you have trouble casting it much as the colourless?
Thought-Knot? I don't think so. I kind of hedged a little high on colourless sources. I think I have 16.
Okay, it's pretty high as well.
Like basically, my mana's a bit more painful than I could probably get away with slightly fewer pain lands and slightly more like jewels or whatever. I kind of hedged a bit against like your soul land getting wasted and then still wanting to be able to cast your Thought-Knots here.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a 4-color deck, but just easy game.
Kinda, yeah. As one thing I would say is sometimes you really have to plan your sequencing with the mana. Like sometimes you have a petal, and you need to make sure that you use that for your green mana to cast your Morlock, because you don't have like after that you're not going to have green mana, and so you need to just like make sure that if you're going to be limited on the colors in your actual lands, that you're using your petals for like the color that you need.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like sequencing is always, I think, the hardest thing with these kind of fast mana decks. You need to have your first few turns just be played perfectly, basically.
And I think also that's like why Stompy decks sometimes get a bad rap, because I believe a lot of people, they don't understand how important the sequencing is for Stompy decks, and they just like look at what they see from their side of the board, and it's like, oh yeah, I just got run over by whatever. But
I think that's so
when
hard.
I watch people play Stompy decks, and I sometimes look at this like, this is like you have everything you want, but instead you just go turn one City of Traitors and you throw everything away just because you got force checked and then you never cast anything again. It's just like you could have just like Anyway, I just like have a thing that annoys me, and that is when people like think about something like, I don't know, Dragon Stompy is like a stupid deck, because it's definitely not one of the first 10 decks I would like come up with. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Callum, do you have more questions? I think we wrote down quite a lot. Did we already go over all of them?
Yes, I want to ask a bit about Valakut now, because I know I played you last week as well on like a different one. So we've got the red-green deck that you also top forward the Saturday AXION event with. So that's probably, we talked about it as well last episode, and so we'll go over that, and then some of your explorations, because I know you've been playing blue, but also there's like something I noticed within over the two decks is you have a game plan, and then it's kind of geared towards your interaction, but then you have like one, maybe two very hard-hitting anti-combo cards. So in Naya Stompy, you have the Archons, Thought-Knot to an extent, but not as much. And then in the Valakut deck, you have 3 Trinispheres. They do kind of combo that your deck is all 3 drops, basically, apart from Commune with Spirits, and you added cantrips recently. Is that like a deck building thing you do with most decks in this ilk?
It's a good question. I don't think I was necessarily thinking about that specifically. I think with this Valakut deck, as I'm sure we'll get into shortly, but there's not a ton of room in this deck for interactive or disruptive elements. Like it's very synergy based, and so it's difficult to find room for like, I don't know, like Lightning Bolt or Thought-Knot Seer, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've found that especially with, you have 27 lands in this deck, and you want to be playing tons and tons of lands for your synergy.
Yeah, like any card that isn't progressing your game plan is like a real cost. And so for this build, I basically just decided that Trinisphere made the most sense as like generic disruptive piece that's good against the widest range of things, that works with your Wasteland plan, like doesn't really disrupt what you're doing, doesn't take that many slots.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily thinking the same sort of thing across the two decks, but there are some similar ideas there for sure.
Yeah, Trinisphere can just lock decks out completely as well, and it's a good point, because I'll give people a quick rundown of what we're talking about, but then you have moved on to other things. So there's 2 Dryad Arbors, 4 Courser Crucifix, 4 Dryad of the Elysian Grove, and 3 Ramnet Excavator, and a Tireless Tracker as your creature suite. So as you can guess, there's lots of like land recursion from the graveyard, especially with 3 Excavators and then the extra land drops from the Dryads. And you do have 4 Wastelands in the deck. You are wastelanding people out, and then the Trinisphere is just brutal. And then you have 4 Commune with Spirits. This is a cool card. It's a 1 green, it's a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal an enchantment or a land from among them, put it into your hand. So Dryad and Corsair are both enchantments. And then you have Expiration and Valakut Expiration, 4 ofs. And then the 3 Trident Spheres to round out the spells. So Commune with Spirits, tell me about that. This is... I've never seen it in Legacy before, but it finds like over half your deck.
Yeah, I think it finds something like 45 of the 60, I vaguely remember.
Yeah.
The card is decent. I certainly don't think it's necessary. Like, there are other cards you can play. I think it's well, where to start? So basically, let me try and give a quick rundown of sort of where this deck came from. So
Stuff from
so I'm a big fan of Exploration generally. Like, I think the card is super powerful.
We should just add the lands are basically for Valakut. Is how you're killing people.
Yeah,
usually.
Like, it's cool. Most of the time you're killing them with Valakut. You can win like through a Blood Moon. You just have a bunch of 2-power creatures that you can attack with, and like Valakut Exploration can kill them. Yeah, Tyler's Tracker can get big, but like most games you're killing with Valakut. So like I'm a big fan of Exploration, but the card only really does stuff if you have some sort of engine that's like letting you hit your land drops. So like classically we would see Life from the Loam, but in this deck you also have like Ramanap Excavator lets you hit your land drops, Course of Grufix, Valakut Exploration. So you really want to pair Exploration with some sort of engine that's letting you hit your land drops. The issue with playing like all these engines is that now when you don't have an Exploration, like they're all kind of slow and clunky and not doing much. And so it would be nice if you could also play a bunch of other Exploration effects or ways to find Exploration. And so that's where sort of the Dryad, Green Sun Zenith stuff is super nice, because basically now you have like 12 Explorations in the deck. And so at its core, this deck is basically just like Exploration effects and things that are good with Exploration effects. And so like you're just sort of trying to assemble that. And then a lot of it sort of scales pretty exponentially. Like Valakut Exploration, with each Exploration effect, it's like drawing you more and more cards and finding you more and more Exploration effects. So like,
but does it sometimes seem like you actually get to go off with the deck?
Yeah, so like you quite often will kill on turn 4. Like I think I had one turn 3.
I was about to say
4?
I've played like when Dryad came out, I played some Stompy decks with Chalice and stuff, but a similar idea with Valakuts as the win. And this engine can kill so much faster than you expect. So give us the breakdown.
Yeah, well, let me run through a turn 3 kill that I had. So I don't remember like all the specifics, but I think I went turn 1 Exploration, and then second land is Valakut. Turn 2 third land Valakut Exploration, and I didn't even have a fourth land. And then turn 3 I draw Ancient Tomb, play that, trigger the Valakut Exploration.
Sorry to stop you there. Can we quickly like recap? What does your board look like as you untap for the third turn?
So in play,
I don't think anybody would actually expect you to be able to kill from
there. So in play, I have Exploration, Valakut Exploration, 3 lands where one of them is a Valakut.
And you literally won on that turn.
Yeah. So I go Ancient Tomb was my draw for the turn. So I play that, which triggers the first Valakut Exploration and finds a fetch. And then I cast the second Valakut Exploration using like Valakut and Ancient Tomb. So I have 2 lands left. I play the fetch and fetch with it. So that's like 4 triggers across the 2 Valakut Explorations. And amongst those 4 cards, I must have found another Exploration and another fetch and then some other stuff. So like I play the other Exploration, which allows me to play the other fetch, which gets me 4 more triggers, right? And then I think amongst those, I find like Exploration, Dryad, probably another Valakut. And so like that just like kills them.
Your poor opponent.
It's crazy.
This is the kind of story you tell at home, and you're like, okay, and then round 7 came along and you have no idea what I lost against.
I mean, it's not the norm, but that's not also that outlandish, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like Valakut Exploration, once it's in play, there's a lot of high rolls for like what you can hit. Like if you like basically Exploration's the best one because it's like
so it's how many Exploration fetches you hit.
Like Exploration is like free to hit because it's like you spend 1 mana on it unless you play another land, which gets you more.
It's actually it's a +1 mana +3 cards.
So it's neutral on mana because you're spending a mana and then it lets you play 1 land.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing a tomb, then it's like +1 mana.
So it's like a Phyrexian Ancestral Recon. It's okay.
Yeah, kind of. And like if you're not playing the cards,
I can see why you're so excited about this thing.
Yeah. And like any cards you don't play will deal 1 to your opponent in the end step with Valakut Exploration. So like,
yeah. And then all this damage, like if it doesn't actually kill them, like it can also just shoot creatures. Like it's such a
the Valakuts,
once you get your synergy going, it's just the ultimate board control.
Yeah, and that's a really nice thing. Like often you'll have like even if you're not killing on turn 4, often turn 4 is like, okay, use a few Valakut triggers to like make sure I don't die to your board, and then next turn I kill you.
I think 3 damage is at a prime in the format at the moment because of Dragon Rage Channeler as well.
Yeah.
What I love about these green-based decks is how Corsair and Dryad dodge Bolt, though. They're both 2/4s. I wish Remnant Excavator was a 2/4 as well. I'm sure you do as well. Yeah. But that's one part I loved of playing this Dryad decks in the past is how you can often run it out against Delver and be like, this is pretty safe. It feels good.
Yeah, Corsair's kind of a weird one because you can't cast it off of Ancient Tomb, which is a real issue. Mm-hmm. But basically, my main kind of thought with the Corsairs and the communes finding them is like, it sort of, to some extent, allows you to not play any removal in the main because a lot of creatures, like there's a lot of boards where just 2 Corsairs and then just playing like 3 lands a turn just completely invalidates their board.
Yeah, I love it. Corsair is a removal spell.
Yeah, and so like I was saying earlier, like the deck is just trying to assemble like engine plus explorations. Like Corsair's an engine, but it's also like a way of beating creatures because it's so hard to fit
like an
like
absolute
lightning
nightmare
bolts.
for anything that tries to be like a control deck.
Yeah, so like it's kind of nice. Like you do just have a lot of like value in your engines. Like even when you're not sort of doing your thing, you're still like generating advantage. Like
exploration's crazy against control.
Yeah, like sometimes you'll just go like turn 2 Valakut Exploration off of an Ancient Tomb, and like if it resolves, then it's going to be tough for like them to fight through the amount of value you generate across the next like 5 turns or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's even like they can prismatic ending it, but you already got some value from it because it's 3 mana, so you're casting it ahead of curves.
Yeah, and then like deck. I mean, you have so many of these things that they have to ending.
Yeah. And then I'm sure there's turns where you just kind of like sandbag a few fetches, play a Dryad with Valakuts in play.
Yeah.
They have to force it or they're dead.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned fetches because one thing about the mana base is I imagine some people will look at this and think, why are there no like Besejus or other sort of utility lands? But it's really difficult to trim on both fetches and fetchables. Like you want as many fetches as you can play because so many of your engines just want fetches. And like
that is your combo thing as well. Yeah.
And you very often run out of fetchables. Like even with this, like what do I have in this list? Like 9, I think.
I think it's 8. You got
like the 7 actual ones and the 2 Dryad Arbors.
And
like even with that, like you very often just run out. Like it's you want as many as you can, but it's hard to fit everything in. So that's just why there's no like other utility lands.
Yeah, love it. Like so this deck it kills very fast. It's got as you said, it's very synergy based. My experience was playing like Primeval Titan as the kind of win with the Dryad player stuff. But you don't need it here. I think this is just way better built than whatever I played in the past.
Yeah, my main issue with Titan, like it's possible you want 1 to Zenith 4. My main issue with it is like when you don't have a Dryad, it doesn't actually do anything. Like it doesn't like it's nice when it's getting like Field of the Dead or something, but when it's just getting 2 Valakuts and you don't even have a Dryad, it's like pretty embarrassing.
To play Field of the Dead, you would have to, I think, completely rework this deck because the mana base is not built for it. Yeah. And it's just very well built.
Oh, and we should also mention the Wastelands quickly. Like I spoke about Trinispheres being sort of the main like disruptive element. Like Wastelands, I mean they're super low cost, of course, because it's just like a land in your lands deck. I mean they just win games on their own sometimes, like ramming up Wasteland with like 2 explorations or whatever.
Oh, that's giving me like vintage vibes.
This is giving me Maverick vibes. Like Night, Wasteland.
Yeah. And it's super nice to have that as just like a second angle that's in the deck. Like I had a game against, I think it was against Espervile, and I think in games 1 and 2 he didn't see a single Wasteland, and then game 3 he like fetches out 2 jewels on the first 2 turns, and then I just like double Wasteland him and he loses.
Oh, yeah, just because people can often recover from they mentally expect to get wastelanded once, and then like even if it's not on his radar, it's just like I can get wastelanded once, and then I can still cast these spells. But when you get double or triple wastelanded out of the blue, you just
Honestly, that's probably like another reason why people get so triggered and so salty when they get like double or triple Wasteland, because just like people don't expect it to happen, and when it happens, it's just like, oh, so lucky you drew the cards. Like,
it's not a thing that happens often as well. It's just
like, yeah.
I had a game against I think it was 8 mulch lands, and it must have been like turn 15 or something. Like the game had gone super long. I hadn't found a single Wasteland, and then I draw one, and I have like Ramanap in play 4 exploration effects. I just like play it, like kill 5 of your lands, and he's like, yeah, let's go to this game.
Oh my god, brutal.
Meanwhile, getting all the tokens for Tireless Trigger, ideally.
Oh yeah.
I love the card so much. Dude, this is actually like, I literally have my finger on the download button on Goldfish right now, because I actually want to try this in Magic Online. Like, I can't try Naya Stompy, but
it's a lot of fun. Like this one, I think is more fun to play than the Naya one. At least in my
it certainly
opinion.
looks like it, yeah.
This is my kind of deck. Like, I'm a big fan of just putting a bunch of lands in play.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get dragged by combo, because every time I've been playing the leagues on Magic Online right now, I've just been running into like mono combo all the time. But if you tell me like this can kill on the 3rd turn, like, oof.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're
the combo deck filling the leagues.
Like the sideboard kind of gives you some game against some combo decks. Like in just red green, it's hard to have game against everything. But like the oof,
I was
the
about to
endurance.
say, I feel like red green actually has the best sideboard cards in Legacy these days. It's so good. Pyroblast and Endurance and Force of Vigor are just... I can't think of better sideboard cards, honestly. Like,
yeah, like you might have noticed, like between this and the Applejack deck, like I play a lot of just Endurance's, Force of Vigor's, oof. Like that gives you game against a lot.
Yeah.
Like honestly, if Endurance was 2 and a green instead of 1 green, I would put it in the Naya Stompy deck as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that would be like an auto include at that point.
Yeah.
That's such a good card. One of the best additions to Legacy.
Oh, and I was going to put Maddening Hex in the board here. It's kind of nice because you can find it with a commune, but like it's just too hard to cast. Like you don't have that many red sources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was almost like thinking to my head, like, can you cast Fury if you needed it against these kind of things? But
but it's actually exciting. Like when you look at the main deck, this is almost mono green except for the Valakut explorations.
Yeah, like you could. Like, I've played some mono green builds. Thing is, like, once you're already playing Valakut, it's like the red splash is so free.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially like even if you're mono green, you want like 8 fetches anyway to trigger all your stuff. So it's like having a couple of tigers is just so low cost.
I gotta say, something I really appreciate with your decks is the awareness of what you can play with colors as well. Like the Naya colors look pretty rough. It's 3 colors Stompy deck with Thornless here as well. But the way you described it is like, I'm already getting these colored sources by being extra careful for my first couple of colors. I might as well take advantage of it. Here, you're like, I'm not introducing a splash because I want to make the mana worse at all, but you're already doing it, so it's close to free. Because I think good mana and knowing when to push it or not is a really important thing.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of like playing a bunch of basics as well. Like obviously the Applejack deck had a lot, and I played a lot of Veteran Explorer decks.
You know what I like so much about like these decks? What I also really like about Painter, and I keep talking about how much I want to build Painter in paper. It's just you get to select the nice basic lands, and you get to play a bunch of them. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna play like 1 island, maybe 1 plains. Like no, like in Painter, how much do we have? Like 6, and this also like plays at least 4 forests and stuff.
Yeah, I've got like 5 or 6 sets of nice mountains I cycle between.
What are your favorites right now?
I'm using Portal ones right now.
Oh, true. And Andy, what kind of forests are you playing in this?
I play Unhinged.
Oh, that's good too, yeah.
Unhinged is one of the only newer border or style ones that I like, but they're nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved Unhinged when I played like Elves All Foil. Then I played the All Foil Unhinged ones because I think they look amazing. Yeah. But when I downgraded to non-foil, I think I played Unglued. I'm pretty sure I still have Unglued. But yeah, I like both of them quite a lot.
Yeah. Oh, the Unglued ones are great as well.
Cool.
But yeah, you've been messing around, just before we move on for this, you've been messing around with blue as well. How did that go? Do you think it's good?
Yeah, I've to be honest, I've messed around with a lot of stuff with Valakut.
So for blue, I saw you playing Ponder, Brainstorm, Expressive Iteration, and Uro.
Yeah, and Force. Like we didn't. I think you didn't
Force
see it because I sided them out. I think.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, like the main reason to play blue would be Force. I think like if you can play enough other blue cards to support it, then it just gives you game. I can't
imagine what you cut for all those cards.
Well, yeah. So that was less of a. I'm trying to think of the list I had when I played you. I think I probably didn't have
Coursers, Excavators, and
like I definitely didn't have communes.
Trinosphere.
I didn't have Trinospheres.
Yeah.
And like trim down on some of the numbers of the other stuff because you have cantrips to find them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and like that felt okay. Recently, I've actually been doing some like Quandrix Apprentice stuff. I don't know if you know that card. It's like
I know it's the blue and green Apprentice.
Yeah, so it's blue-green for a 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, look at the top 3 of your library. You can put a land from among them in your hand, rest on the bottom. So it's like kind of
go for the cantrips.
It's another one of these engines like that's good with exploration, but it's 2 mana instead of 3, which is a pretty big deal. It's blue, so it pitches to force, and it's zenithable.
That's very cool.
And yeah, it just plays super well with all the cantrips.
Is that no? I thought we talked about it on some kind of preview.
I've never thought this card is good.
Is it brand new or?
Oh no, it's back from Strixhaven. It's the same set as the Witherbloom Apprentice.
What's it called? Give me the name again.
Quandrix, like Quandrix.
RIX. Okay, Quandrix Apprentice.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, dude. Actually, I'm pretty sure I talked about this card on our review episode, and I said, there's something there, and even if you just like brainstorm back the extra lands that you draw of this one,
it's shown up a little, and like I've seen it in some lists. It's really sick with like careful study, faithless looting type stuff because you just end up with so many lands in your hands that like they just end up being draw 2s or whatever, and then brainstorm of course. It's really sick with brainstorm because it like you put 2
sure
cards back and
shot
then
me
the
down
next
on this
trigger
one.
like clears the top.
I bet I did shoot you down on this one. I'll put my hands up.
Yeah, I've been shot down on Dreaded Arcanist and even Veil of Summer, but here we are. And
those weren't me. Those weren't me.
But also it's good in multiples, which is like super unusual for these like land engine cards. Like you'll notice that Corsair, Ramanap, Loam, for example, like these aren't really all that good in multiples, whereas Quandrix actually does stack up nicely.
That's a good point. So are you trying with like 4 of them?
Yeah. And it's possible that instead of I'm still doing the Dryad Valakut stuff. It's possible that you actually just want to be doing like depth stage with that because like it also finds those.
That's pretty cool. And then with all the exploration effects, you can just like find them in one turn and make it straight away.
Yeah,
with the opponent unsuspecting.
Yeah, and I've been playing like some Ottawaras and Besejus. Like Ottawara with Loam is super cool.
Yeah, so spells you can just find.
Yeah, and like cycle lands if you want.
See, this card is actually literally broken. You should have trusted me.
I've got my hands in the air already saying I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
It's really cool with Raven's Crime, but I haven't tried that yet. Because like you retrace discarding a land, and then it finds a land, and then you retrace discarding a land, and then it finds a land.
Oh my god, you can go like really deep on.
You're speaking my language so much here.
I've been playing some Raven's Crime in Modern, but I haven't really done much with it yet in Legacy.
I guess you play Urborg for this as well.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. Like Dryad fixes your black mana. Just saying.
Yeah, of course. Imagine you just go like turn 2 Quandrix Apprentice off like 2 drops, and then you like I don't know, you evil person. You just go like Urborg and then just like discard 3, and then next turn discard the rest of your hand. Oh
yeah.
Man, we need more of your decks in Legacy. Seriously. Like where have you been all these years? I don't know. Like maybe you built a ton of decks that I wasn't aware of that you built them, but this is some really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then back in Green-Red, I've also tried Experimental Frenzy. It's like super sweet. It might be a little
in
slow.
Legacy?
Yeah, well, in this Green-Red Valakut deck. So it's very easy, like if you untap with it, to just win in 1 turn, because like the main issue with Frenzy is if you hit 2 lands in a row, then like normally you'd be stuck. But with all these exploration effects, you just like play 10 cards and kill them often.
It's that easy.
Play like a 1/6 of your deck, yeah, sure.
Well, because you're like land, okay, here's an exploration, let's cast that. Here's another land, let's play that. Here's a Dryad, let's play that. Here's a Valakut, let's play that. It's just like keep going.
And you know what this feels like? I can actually picture myself like I'm sitting there, I'm playing like the win it in for Top 8 in a big event, and I'm up against the guy who casts like Cursor of Krufix, and like inside I'm thinking, oh yes, I get this, I'm gonna get that. I have no idea if I'm sitting across from him, but yeah, I'm gonna get. And then literally you kill me in the 3rd turn, and you just like go off of what you just described. That
sounds like Andy's quarterfinal opponent was against Reanimator, and I was watching a little bit. I think he was also like, how the fuck am I losing to this?
I had no business winning that.
Dude, seriously, like, if I was Reanimator and you was up against this deck, I would like fist pump inside.
I won game 1 against Reanimator with this green.
How do you even do that? Like Trinity Sphere or something?
No. So they had an early Reanimate, but it was on a. It's the Serra's Emissary,
Arcan?
Is it? The one where you like choose a type and you have protection from that type.
Oh,
and so they had to choose land to have protection from my Valakut, and then I just like had a tracker and it raced it.
Yes. That's so sick.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, because they're streaming.
They ended up having to like chump block the tracker with their thing, and then I just Valakuted them. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, this
yeah, like the games with this one are really, really fun.
Yeah, it's. I think it's really a deck where if anyone listening, like you look at the list, it does look mopey, but it's just not. It's the first couple of turns you play like one spell a turn, but then these kind of things they just go off. Like Andy's explained it very well. They're crazy.
Oh, and then one more thing. So I know Andrea Mangucci had a question about. I'm not playing Mox Diamond in this. You definitely can, and I've definitely tried it. Like one issue with this is once you're playing Exploration, Mox Diamond, and Dryad, like none of these do anything on their own unless you have some engine going, and so it just becomes so easy to like have your first engine countered, and then you just have nothing. You have like Exploration, Dryad, 3 lands, and a Mox in play, and you just
I don't see this as a Mox Diamond deck. You're wanting the lands in play as themselves, the Valakuts and stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's weird how, like, even though you have, like, the Raminaps, they kind of synergize with it. You kind of have ramp, like, the Exploration provides ramp, and you got the Ancient Tombs and stuff. It looks fast enough to me. And then the Dryad,
you have Zenith with Dryad
Arbor
as
well.
Like this, so this list has, like, 12 things that give you a turn 2/3 drop between the Tombs, the Explorations, and the Zeniths for Dryad Arbor. And then, like, Communes kind of up that slightly because they can find Ancient Tomb as well. But, like, I generally like to have more like 14 to 16 ways of playing a 3-drop on 2. Like this list was a little light on that, but it's hard to balance that with like not running out of stuff, you know.
I don't know what you'd add because when you go the Mox Diamond route again, you have to go really heavy your Excavators or Life from the Loams or something, and it just it's not a Life from the Loam deck. It's not.
Like I've played some builds with Loam. Like I think in this list, Ramanap is better, mostly because. It's kind of hard to picture.
You're playing more than 3 lands.
Well, like sometimes it's just.
Or you just have one fetch.
That's the main thing. It's like you have one fetch or one wasteland, and then Ramanap plus Exploration Effects lets you play. It lets you hit all your land drops every turn still. Yeah. Whereas like Loam, you have to like cast it and then dredge it, and then hope that you've dredged into more land. You know.
Yeah. No, definitely. Cool, amazing. I'm also like gonna give this a jam. I mean.
Yeah, my finger's already on the download button here.
Cool.
I usually like whenever you like finish a podcast, I have one deck in mind, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try like Painter again. It's just like because I'm having so much fun with Painter. But now that you really sold me on this deck, I want to try this one out. And yeah, like I said, usually when I play it this time of the day, because we're recording at like almost midnight at my place, I keep running into like combo left and right. I don't know what it is about this time of the day. This is like when Americans get home from work and they're like, you know what I feel like right now? The epic gamble.
Or just stick the 4th Hemisphere in there. Maybe put the Oath in the main. And like...
literally, I can't believe I'm saying this. I literally recently did that with Painter. When I play in the evening, like I want like 4 ley lines for my brick traps. Just like... But yeah, Andy, thank you so much. I'm really excited. No pressure, man, but I want to see more of this kind of stuff.
You know, I was joking with my friends about like, what if I showed up to the ELM with just like Delver?
Dude, don't even joke about it.
I'm actually curious what that metagame is going to look like. It's going to be big enough where people probably won't try to metagame against each other.
Do you have an idea what you're going to play, or do you want to keep it under wraps?
I just don't know yet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So at the LLM this Saturday, I'm probably going to try out some Quandrix Apprentice list.
Nice.
But yeah, I have no idea for ELM.
Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and seeing that in action. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be like, I'm going to try and lose my matches really fast so I can watch. Yeah.
Are you not going to play the challenge again, Callum, on the weekend? You already did a lot of winning.
Yeah,
just
no.
Enough winning, I guess.
This coming Saturday is our LLM, so I've got a deck lined up, but it's going to be a surprise next week. It's not Painter.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, in speaking of Painter, you really have been flying the flags of Painter, and I know you always keep telling me you are not the Painter guy. There's like, oh, there's this guy in the Discord, and there's that guy in the Discord, and they are the Painter people. Dude, you are Mr. Painter to me right now. You can say what you want, just like, this is the title that has been bestowed upon you now. You played 2 challenges over the weekend. One of them, the smaller challenge on Saturday, and then on Sunday you played the Was it once again one of the biggest legacy events ever online? Like 272?
It's quite a lot.
Players?
Yeah. So yeah, I thought I wasn't going to play either. I went out Friday and I was like, oh, and I woke up really hungover Saturday. And then I woke up in like a drunken stupor and like rented the cards and signed up. I was like, we'll see how this goes if I wake up in time. And I woke up like 10 minutes before. I was like, okay, fine. And the Saturday challenge was small. It was like 52 or 54 players. I can't quite remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a nice run. I was undefeated in the Swiss and scooped the last round just because you need to. Let me just pull up what I played against. So yeah, I'll give a quick. I play against Doomsday round 1. I play against Reanimator round 2 and Reanimator round 3, and then Mono Black Stompy round 4, 8 cast round 5, and then round 6 I scoop for lunch. But I know I was against. Actually, I can't remember now. Yeah, because I was 5-0 and I was against Ocean Soul, who is like a Blue-Red Delver grinder. A little part of my head was like, I don't really want another Blue-Red Delver player in the top 8. I could play just to try and knock him out, but it's like, I get to have lunch. There's no way I can that much in this kind of event.
You know what? There's a good shot. Like if you're one of the last undefeated and you play against him and he has been paired up against you, like if you win and he still ends up in like 8th place.
Yeah, he was probably in anyway, but I was just like, I get to go and make some food.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Nice run. No weird matchups, like lots of combo. Doomsday, Reanimator, Mono Black Stompy, 8 cast, and then Blue Red Delver in the last round, but I didn't play. I was kind of pleased, like it shows that I think the deck is built to beat fair game 1, and so showing that it can continuously beat the combo, it works. Like the sideboard is geared for it. It's 3 Mind Break Traps, 3 Surgicals, 2 Thorn of Amethyst is like new additions, and then Magus and Needle. And then I got a Quiff Dispatch by Blue Red Delver in the quarterfinal.
I noticed a pattern.
Yeah. So quarterfinals loss, but that was cool. I then got to go out and do things and stuff. Nice Saturday, and so I was helping my parents move on Sunday. So I was just thinking, I completely had written it off like weeks before because they'd asked me a few weeks ago, and then we started really early, and so we got tons of stuff done, and so I got to like 2:33, and I was like, you know what? If I just get out and leave pretty quickly, I can run home. And so I said to them, do they want me to do anything else? Because I'd like to go and do this. And they were like, no, we've basically done it until like more help next week. So I got back, I think at 10 to 4 when it starts, quickly rented the cars and signed up. And there we go.
And were you even aware that's like a showcase challenge?
Yeah, I knew it was the showcase challenge. I've got tons of QPs from like other challenges, and
I hope mine are not going to go to waste. Like I still have so many left, but they I don't know, they expire kind of at the end of a season, right?
Yeah, I think they've got a bit more time. There's another showcase challenge at least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably going to happen while I'm in Kenya, but yeah, we will see.
Yeah, but then I never really have expectations anymore. I'm kind of at a really happy place with the game where I love playing this deck and I'll just keep playing it, and it's really good. I know it pretty well by now, but I feel so comfortable playing the games. I just don't feel ever really kind of like under pressure to perform with it. But things went really well yesterday. So I played against Green White Depths round 1, which I won. I'll stop the.
You won all of your Swiss wins, I guess.
I won all the Swiss rounds. So round 1 was against Green White Depths or Naya Depths. Round 2 was Blue Red Delver. Round 3 was Omnitel, a really tough matchup in my experience. But in that matchup, I mulled to 5 game 3 because I knew that I needed a Saga plus Ancient Tomb or Soulland hand. The way you win that matchup is a fast clock and blasts. Mind Break Trap was also clutch. They got Omniscience in play, and I Mind Break Trapped all their spells afterwards.
Awesome.
Then round 4 was Blue Red Delver again. It was Ocean Soul again, the guy scooped for lunch the game before. He was very friendly. Then round 5 was 8 cast. Round 6 was Arcanon Rhinos, like leyline binding rhinos and stuff.
Is that really a deck? Like, come on.
I think it's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. I've seen him do some stuff. Like, I've seen some pictures on Twitter and stuff. Like, is leyline binding the truth, really? Is it?
I mean, it's like a 2-mana flash removal spell. It's pretty good. Because
I mean, the only reason we're playing it in that deck is because of the Cascade.
Yeah, but that's how it works. Yeah,
okay.
It's good. I mean,
the
deck is very hard to play against because it has a ton of free spells. So it has obviously 4 Force of Wills. I don't know how many Force Negations he plays, but then I knew in his sideboard he had 2 Fury, up to 4 Endurance, 2 Force of Vigors. He had Collect Roofs, which funnily he won game 1 because I kind of had a slow hand, and game 2 I won because he sided Collect Roof in against the Painted deck, but he hit it off a Cascade, which this deck is very, very good against Collector Roof. Like, there's so much removal.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting because I would think that's like a conscious choice. You would think like Collector Roof against certain decks is like devastating. Like I guess it's really good against the Epic Storm and stuff.
Yeah.
And you wanna be able to cascade into it, but against Painter, like you mentioned, right? We have so many ways to just like straight up ignore it and either like or like remove it. And
because I think I sided Bolts out, but I had 4 Furies in the deck and then Painters with 7 Blasts. It's like easy. What I do like about that deck's sideboarding thing is there is 2 oofs and then there's like 1 Canonist, I think, or like some other hate 2-drop, which some decks just can't beat. So the idea is you probably take out your Rhinos and just cascade once and you hit your hate bear. It's kind of cool. And then you have all this free counter magic to back it up.
Wait, and really seriously? Like I think you would still keep in the Rhinos, right?
No, but then you might hit Rhinos rather than your hate bear.
And then you have to win with like the oof?
Well, you wouldn't do it against Painter. He had Rhinos against me as well. But I mean,
okay.
I mean like the Epic Storm or some LED combo decks are just really weak to it. Or Canonist is good against the thing. Something like that.
Well, I would think it's still like... Okay. So you're saying you have to take out the Rhinos, otherwise you can't cascade into the oof then. Okay.
Reliably, yeah. It's more for the Canonist, I think. But yeah, got the 2 sideboard games. The game 3, I had one of the biggest tanks I've ever had. I think I went into tank for like 5 minutes on my turn 1 play because
slow play.
Yep. Well, it's Magic Online. I'm allowed. I play too fast in paper. I lose. I mean,
Ross Merriam literally tanked on a brainstorm on camera for 5 minutes and didn't receive a slow play warning.
I remember
that. And wrote an article about it afterwards. Like, talk about milking it.
yeah. But then round 7 was against Runkor on the Fiend Artisan kind of mid-range Nightmare on Elf Street deck they call it. Game 1 was pretty interesting. Like we had a bit of back and forth, but I had like 2 bolts for a Reclaimer and then a Fiend Artisan, and then he just didn't really. Then I had a Painter plus Blast for a Grist, and then Saga came off and quite easy combo. And game 2, I felt a bit bad. So Runker, if you listen to this, he had on his turn 2, he had 2 Elvish Reclaimers and 2 Dryad Arbors in play. And I
know where this is going.
Yeah, I had a Fury, but I took ages trying to decide whether to kill the 2 Dryad Arbors and a Reclaimer or the 2 Reclaimers. Because if he has a second land, I didn't have another removal spell. I actually kept a 1-lander because I had a Fury and a Simian Spirit Guide and a Fable and a Welder. I had like a bunch of good things, and the Fury is so good to have in your opener. So I was like, if I miss on my second land and he has a second land, he can then use the Reclaimer to get a Cradle, or if I have a Graveyard combo piece, he can get the Bog. It can slip out of control, but ultimately I decided, because he played a Dryad Arbor turn 2, naturally, he Green Sun for 1 turn 1, I thought he probably just doesn't have another land, because otherwise it's such a big blowout with Fury. And he just didn't have a second land, and I got to do my thing. Round 8 was against Francis, our friend Francis, on Cephalid Breakfast. I'd like to touch on his deck after this as well, because I think it's incredibly good and kind of slept on and underplayed. We had an interesting game 1 where I think I misplayed, where he played a turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic and got a Shuko, and I had a bunch of removal. I had like a Bolt and a Fury, and I could have played a Painter plus Blast. Like, I had all the answers to it. And I was like, because he got the Shuko, I was worried of him having a good combo hand, because he knows that Painter is pretty weak to Culture Complete. We've talked about it loads and how to sideboard and stuff. So I thought that either he has it naturally in hand, but it's a lower chance of that, or he just has a good combo hand with like 2 Forces or a Teferi or something. So I got greedy and didn't kill the Stoneforge. Obviously, here comes the Culture Complete from hand the following turn. In hindsight, I should have probably just Furied it and kept the Bolt and the Blast for the combos. But I think I was also only had 1 red mana as well, so I got a bit greedy with the Fury, basically. But in the end, I got a Fable down the following turn. He put a Shuko on the Culture Complete, so it was a 3-turn block rather than 2, which is quite funny. But I got to hardcast a Fury, kill the Stoneforge, and then Kiki copied Fury, killing another creature.
Oh, that's always the worst. Whenever you get to that stage in the game, where you can like start copying your Fury, like it's not even just because of the trigger that you get. Like that's literally 6 more damage. Yeah, just out of nowhere.
It was the damage. He was on 16 life. He'd fetched a couple of times. I tapped him for 1 or 2, and then he had the Fury I'd cast plus the copy, and then his plan was good. He attacked with the Cauldron, putting me to 2. He has the 6 power trampling to get through, but he had a Saga, so he was going to make a construct to block one of the Furies. But I had a Painter in play and a Bolt and 2 Blasts in hand, so I knew I could beat any combination of cards he had. So I attacked for like 20 on the 4th turn. It's the power of having a real man plan there. And then game 2, think I just got to bait a Force with a Fury, and then had like Saga plus Painter. Quite simple. Yeah, and then the last round, round 9, I was paired against a guy on Reanimator. I didn't actually win this one. I told him that I'm going to be playing because I'd played against Francis, so I wanted to play for his breakers to get him in if he lost his last round.
A man of honor.
Yeah. So I told him, like I said, we're both locked. It doesn't matter, but I will be playing, so it's up to you. And then he said, fine, I'll concede. So he conceded. So I went 8 in the Swiss. The last round, we didn't play.
Oh, okay. So it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And then, what was that pattern you talked about? Quarterfinals, Blue Red Delver. I unfortunately lost. It was against...
You even won the first game again.
Yeah, so it was against Discoverin.
This is just like that feeling. I've been there so many times. You're literally up against Delver in like an important match. You win the first game. You feel like I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, because Delver and the play is such a different beast. So you feel like game 2 will hopefully it goes well, but then you still have game 3 in the bank. Game 2 was really, really long and grindy, and the matchups in a weird spot where you can beat their grind. Basically, I often don't blast the expressive iterations unless they have like 1 or 2 cards left in hand at the end of it, because the way you quote unquote keep up with their grind is, well, Saga and Fable if they resolve or like don't get wastelanded, but stranding dazes in their hand and pyroblasting forces, you kind of create that parity back. So you do want the game to go long enough where you can make dazes dead and blast the forces if you need to. Otherwise, I just basically save blast for Murktide and then the force that they use to protect the Murktide if that happens. And then the biggest other way I retain that kind of value is Welders with Breyer's Apprentice is a huge part of the matchup.
Yeah, I can definitely like attest to that.
Yeah, so that
like,
just draws
I
you
sometimes
more
even like proactively find Breyer's Apprentice, even though I could like try to combo out. I feel like sometimes it's just like if you can just like go Breyer's Apprentice all the time, that's just like everything I want.
I basically only find Painter and Breyers with Engineers, but against Delver, I take Breyers 99% of the time because your first Goblin is dying, and then the next ones you draw, you're going to have the Breyers there already. It might be a Welder, so it's not the Engineer.
Yeah. I agree. Like it feels like if you try to assemble the combo, there's so many things that could go wrong, and then you're left with like a grindstone or something and nothing. Yeah. Whereas Breyer's Apprentice, like you get so much value out of it, and I love the card so much. I even might want a second, but it's not really.
They
needed,
have
honestly.
real diminishing returns because the first one you get with the Engineer is amazing, but naturally drawing it is not great.
So how do you actually usually play your Breyer's Apprentices? Like, I mean it can obviously be different by situation, but I always find myself in situations, or often find myself in situations where I sack the Breyer to itself and then sacrifice the token to get it back. Am I doing it right?
Yep, that's what I do. It depends on situations, but if you sack the Thopter, then you have the Breyers to like, then you weld out the Breyers. You need to have 2 goblins for that to work. So yeah, if you have 1 goblin, you sack the Breyers to itself. And then, use the Thopter to weld it back in. So it's like a draw 1 in that case, but there's a lot of other functionality behind it.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, I mean, even like the flying blocker that you get, that's just like, it's worth so much.
Oh, there was a cool bit. This game too, they opened with turn 1 Dragon Rage Channeler, turn 2 2 more Dragon Rage Channelers, and play some baubles and stuff. It didn't quite get them active, so I had a turn 1 Welder that lived, and so I went... Petal into Pitch Spirit Guide because I had a 1 lander as well. I was like, every time you go, right, it's a good 1 lander, which you should almost never keep, but it was actually a lot of good tools in the matchup. So I hope to draw some lands. And I was like, just don't have like the DLC 1 time. Come on, please. But so there's 3. I'm staring down 3, but I had Twin Shot. So I got to evoke the Twin Shot and then weld the Petal in for the Twin Shot. So I killed 2. But then they had the bolt for the Welder, and I just didn't. The Twin Shot in play as a 2/3 doesn't deal with the DLC that was then a 3/3 quick pretty fast. And I think they even forced a Fury on it, and it just went the distance. And then game 3, they had like another really crazy draw with like 3 Murktides in the top 15 cards, and just ran me over pretty easily. So it goes.
Not enough Pyroblasts.
No, I think I don't know.
I keep running into Hydroblast so much lately.
Yeah, so Hydroblast is the best card against this deck. It's not Meltdown anymore. I spent a long time losing to Meltdown and changed the deck so it doesn't lose to Meltdown. And now Hydroblast is just, it's beatable.
Did you see that Twitter thing I posted the other day where my opponent just like almost like in frustration cast a Meltdown that I think killed like a single land or something.
Yeah.
Or just straight up losing to goblins on the board.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. The Fable is the big breakthrough on beating Meltdown, because you just make your artifacts of Saga and Fable, and so the deck plays like 4 Painter, 2 Grindstone, a Soul Guide, and like 2 Petals and an Opal, and 2 Furnaces, like the actual artifacts. Brazen Twin Shot don't really count because they don't usually get swept up.
But the only time I really get blown up by, I mean, not only, but when I do get blown out by Meltdown, it's because of the Saga tokens. Because I spend so much time and mana making them, and then just like 1 mana, everything goes away.
There's just such different ways that the games can play out with this deck. Like sometimes, like I never ever keep a Saga into Soul in hand on the draw against Elva, but I do on the play because it puts them under so much pressure to find the Meltdown quickly or a Wasteland naturally. But otherwise, ideally you just want to go like Mountain Welder, Mountain Engineer into Saga. Fable also makes you play Sagas. Like the deck very rarely wants you to go like land, Saga, land, and then start making constructs. You want to go like Mountain, Saga, play Fable, and then start making construct after and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, I could talk. This isn't a Painter episode.
But it was supposed to be one, but then we had so many more things we wanted to talk about. Yeah. Actually, initially it was going to be the episode without a topic. The topics are for triad episodes. But
that's the only reason I tried to do well on the weekend.
Oh man, you screwed up my perfect episode title.
Yeah,
that's actually one of the hardest things. Like YouTuber talk about, ooh, we have to find a good thumbnail, and it's like 90% of my work. Like I've heard interviews with like professional YouTubers who are like, if I can't imagine what the thumbnail is gonna look like, I'm not even gonna start planning the video. Just like it's so it's not exactly the same about podcasts, I guess, but yeah, I spend a lot of time like thinking about the topics, the episode names, and then I still only come up with some super generic shit. And I want to get rid of that. Like I hate generic podcast names, but I also hate tryhard like funny names. It's just like that's
got to find the middle ground.
And that's the art of it.
Yeah. But to wrap that up, I really didn't mind losing the quarters, honestly. Like the prizes are kind of good for it, but for these showcase challenges, you want the top 8. That's really what matters, because all the top 8 get an invite to, they now call it the Legacy Championship, but it's the showcase qualifier for those that are familiar with that.
They renamed it. It took me like 2 years to properly learn the nomenclature.
Well, there's a token in my account that says Legacy Championship, so...
Oh, fuck it, man. I have to relearn
it. Yeah. But it's the showcase qualifier that's like 24 to 30 people, and then the winner gets a Mox invite or something.
And it's like quarterly, right?
Yeah. So that was what I want. Once I got that 8th win and top 8'd, I was like, I'm done. I'll obviously play my heart out to win more matches and prizes, but I really wanted the top 8. So it's pretty cool to sweep to 8-0, and then as I said, I didn't play the last round, so I'm not going to claim anything.
I wonder what your spreadsheet says now about your win percentage. Like your win percentage, it's given the sample size, is actually insane.
It is, I can tell you. I think it's just under 70. It's 73.65 over 277 matches.
That's insane.
It is good, yeah.
What's your ELO rating on Legacy, on Magic Online Constructed right now?
Well, I don't have it open, but I think it's like 1880 something. I looked yesterday, but I did also play a terrible Asmo War of Invention food deck, the league, like yesterday morning before the showcase challenge.
Nice. You're like burning it, like you're secretly playing like, I don't know, Pauper on the side. And
I went
just, like,
2-3 in that. I think I went 1-4 in another league. Can't stop playing the bad shit.
Have you tried the that black red 5-drop from 40k in paper?
Defiler.
Yeah.
I have it in my deck to play tomorrow at my local store next to me. Yeah, so I've got Black Red Painter for... I actually put together... I got... my post this morning was White Plume Adventurers, the 4-drop Dungeoneer, and then Triumph of St. Catherine's, and a few other things and stuff. So I built like a kind of blue-white tempo deck with Triumph of St. Catherine, but then I like goldfished a bit, and I just can't bring myself to cast cantrips and do too much stuff. So... I think I'm going to be welding some Defilers tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh, Defiler, that's the I just loaded it up on Scryfall again. It's the Chaos Defiler that destroys like a random permanent your opponent controls.
It's not random. It's in multiplayer, it's a random opponent, but in one-on-one, you just get to pick one of their permanents and it dies.
It's just Vindicate.
It doesn't even target.
Well, it doesn't target as well.
Oh.
And it's whenever it ETBs or dies, and so when you weld it out, it dies as well. It kills a lot of shit. I wish it killed lands.
And like it's cheap enough to be castable.
Yeah, so like I found with Fable, you can cast 5 drops.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, I got 2 of them.
And the ability is an amazing name. It's called Battle Cannon.
Yeah, battle cannons. They're all real things in the game
construct.
as well. Like it's a real gun in 40k. Yeah,
I think like we've been super critical for with results, and we'll probably continue to do that. But that Warhammer set, man, that's the shit.
I love it so much. I've even got I've got a pile of 40k cards that I've ordered to build an EDH deck that's all themed about the Warhammer stuff. I mean, I've talked about it on the cast a bunch of times. I'm a massive 40k nerd as well, so I don't know. I'm head over heels in love with the set. So yeah.
Help me, Andy. Do you play 40k as well?
I don't. I've dabbled a little in the past, but no, not a lot.
Okay. Because I was wondering. Then I guess only Callum can answer. Because I'm so fascinated with the lore. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what would be the best place, fraction, whatever, to live? Like if you're just like a normal citizen.
There's not. Part of the 40k lore is there's no good guys, they're all bad guys. So even the Imperium, which is like the quote unquote good people,
they seem pretty horrible from what I've seen.
They are horrible as well. So all normal citizens live in these places called hive cities, and they're just subject to awful lives. They just slave
like
away.
No democracy or anything. It's just like
there's just no hope of ever getting.
I mean, there's the Emperor. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
So because I googled this, and there was some backlash against what's it called, Games Workshop, because they allegedly introduced like a good faction, but then they weren't as good. I don't know.
So Leagues of Votan is a new army that's come recently. That's probably them. So I don't know if when you say good, do you mean like power in the game or
no, like the good guys.
Okay, so Leagues of Votan are like space dwarfs essentially. They're meant to be the good guys. For the greater good is kind of their thing. Or this Tau as well. Tau are like space communists.
That's the name. Yeah, exactly.
Tau,
space communists. Ooh, sign me up.
Yeah. Okay, Tau. Tau. Their thing is for the greater good, and they believe they're doing the world right. But and they're protecting themselves by. They shoot a lot. It's their thing. They have lots of guns.
They didn't get a commander.
As long as they're not buying Twitter.
They're all like kind of weird fish people, and they name all of their aircrafts like mantas and piranhas and stuff.
Did they get a commander deck or no?
No, they didn't actually. No. So the commander decks were like the Force of Chaos, which is a big overarching thing. The Force of the Imperium, which is a big overarching thing, and then Tyranids, where Morlock is from, obviously. I have a real life model of Morlock as well. I've got to say, it's not very good, but not as good as the magic one. But yeah, I'll get you an army soon, Julian. Like, I'll find you one. I don't know what you.
But I'm playing the what are they called? Like the space zombies, the artifact space zombies. I don't remember the name. Yeah. Necrons. Yeah, that deck is insane.
Yeah, I played an EDH game where I got the Chaos deck last week against a friend Simo. He was playing the Necron one, where it was a classic. I just can't do multiplayer. My brain just turns off, and I get immediately bored, even if stuff's going on. I don't know, something about it. But we were playing with another friend, and they both have Soul Ring, and I don't. I'm just like, okay, land, go. And then they just both fight each other, and then everything dies a few times, loads of board wipes, and then eventually I won. It's just like a very different game. It's like a board game, but
yeah. You know what? Actually, something that's. I mean, I've made my peace with EDH for like. I also like I can't get into like the competitive. I honestly believe that actual multiplayer EDH is probably a better thing than the competitive one-on-one EDH, even though I love one-on-one EDH, but the French Commander one. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you have like stuff like Soul Ring and Mana Crypt involved, I just like can't take that seriously.
Yeah.
But I've made my peace with multiplayer EDH in the sense that it's a board game.
Yeah.
And that's literally how you treat it. And Brian Kibler said something really good about how he builds EDH decks on Humans of Magic. Like I only saw the clip that James uploaded, and he said that when he builds an EDH deck, to him that's like a lesson in game design. Like you want to design a game that's gonna be fun and compatible with what your opponents are doing, or like it doesn't even like need to be your opponents, more like your co-players, whatever are doing. Mm-hmm. I guess they're still opponents, but it's more like a lesson in game design. But yeah, I would probably never actively build a 4-player multiplayer deck, but these precons, I'm super happy about.
Well, that makes sense. So the cards that I ordered are all from the Chaos one, and they're all themed around one part of Chaos, which is an army that I play as well. So it's Zenith, and they're like the dark magicians and wizards and stuff. And so the whole deck is going to be themed around fire and time and space and things that are fluffy for them as well. So it's going to be very, very mid-powered, and I can just do something silly and then, go for a drink or whatever. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I did want to just touch on Francis'
You want to talk about
deck.
Francis' deck, right?
Yes, yeah, I've got it open in front of me because we played. He then went 8-1 and top 8'd as well, and he lost to Elves Testacular. So congrats Testacular for listening, friend of the podcast as well. He lost a quarters 1-2 to him, but this deck I think is incredibly good as well and a bit slept on. So he's been tinkering with it, and it's like, so plays 3 Stoneforge and the College, as we mentioned earlier, but then, as we were talking about before, he doesn't have the recruiters like was in the list from etc. He doesn't play Yorion or Vials and stuff as Javier does. It's very focused on comboing. So he has, I'll read through this, 20 lands, 3 of which are Urza's Sagas. So Urza's Saga targets as just 2 Shukos. That's the only target in the deck for them. There's no whatever Retrofit of Foundry or value getting, just literally it's always getting a Shuko. There's 3 Nomads in core. There's 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder, 1 Cabal Therapy to be part of the combo. 3 Stoneforgers, 4 Severed Illusionist, 4 Days, 3 Narcomoeba, again part of the combo, the Oracle, 3 Teferi, Time Raveler, 1 Dread Return as custom, 4 Force of Will, the Cauldron Complete, and then 2 Step Through, which is what we said is the one thing with Wizard Cycling. So that can either go and get the Thassa's Oracle or the Cephalid Illusionist. He says that comes up a lot where you already have the combo and you're like, you need to beat Endurance, so you just... you get the combo and play with Nomads and Cephalid Illusionist, then you go and get the Thassa's Oracle naturally, so they can't like Dread Return it. But you can also beat that with Cabal Therapy. And the sideboard, he just has like, interaction. He's got 3 Swords, 3 Prismatic Ending, 2 Force of Negation, Hydro Blast and 2 Blue Elemental Blasts, 2 Fluster Storms and 2 Surgicals. So I love how this deck is built. Like, you can build Breakfast to be, this very good grindy deck that sometimes wins out of nowheres, but he's just had like very, very good success with this deck being a combo deck. Yeah.
I just, I love that this deck actually has made a return, and it's pretty much Javier who has put it back on the map, right? Like half a year or a year ago or something.
Yeah, he's been playing it. He always plays it now, I think, but he plays quite a different version to this. As in, like, he plays.
Yeah, he does like all,
and
like you mentioned, like all the Yorion stuff and everything. Yeah,
and he has like Palace Jailer and.
I mean, but he just like reinvigorated like people working on the deck in the first place.
Yeah,
I guess. Then.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Because that's just like that was a deck when I started playing Legacy. That was like a deck, and you ran into it, and you were like, "Oh yeah, Cephalid Breakfast, sure, I played against that." But then for like a period of like over a decade, it was like completely gone from the format.
Yeah,
and nobody ever played it. And now we are back here in 2022, and Cephalid Illusionist is a card again.
Francis crushed me with this in a league the other day. I'm a big fan of this deck. It's super sweet.
Yeah. It's
there's leagues of players out there who don't even know what the activated ability of Cephalid Illusionist does. Pretty sure.
Do you?
It's basically fog for the creature it blocks in itself, like Maze of Earth, right?
Yeah. It's like 1 in a blue tap, you can fog something.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I'm sure there's some fans of Breakfast out there. I mean, everyone loves a good breakfast. But yeah, I think the deck is amazing. And you're probably... I don't think it's kind of like a deck that screams powerful, so you're not going to like see lots of grinders pick it up, but I think it's very, very good.
I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty like I'm actually considering this for the Legacy Eternal dude, I can't remember what's it called. Eternal Legacy Masters.
European Legacy Masters.
That's why I get it wrong in my head. It's always Eternal, but it's European Legacy Masters.
Cool. Yeah. It's really good. I'm pretty sure I'm locked into Painter for that. So.
I bet.
Everyone can hear it here. Yeah.
Is there anything like in your Painter deck that you want to upgrade, like visual wise?
I need to get some nice bolts eventually. I just have like.
Oh, please don't tell me you're playing like M10 or something.
No. I have FBB, but they're like really beat up in Spanish.
Okay. FBB I like.
Yeah.
I mean, you can barely upgrade any further, like less beta, I guess. I mean, assuming you're going non-foil.
Yeah. I don't like foils. I never have, and I always like old border where possible, original printing where possible. So it's going to.
So you're not going to play that full art foil promo?
No. No, I mean I think really the upgrades are. I need to get the new Thorn of Amethyst sketches when they come out.
Ooh, dude, like all that stuff. Like I was so sad that Brothers War, like all these old frame promos, that there's no Painter Servant, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be there eventually at some point. It's just like what? It hasn't even been has it ever been reprinted?
No. There's a masterpiece. And,
I
the
guess
normal
that one
printing
exists. Yeah.
So it's so expensive because of that.
Yeah, it's really time for it to come back.
Yes, it's going to be a Judge promo next year, but
Is it?
Yeah, it's been announced that next year it'll be one of the judge promos.
Is it going to be old frame?
We don't know. There's a chance, but I don't know if they do foil and non-foil as well. So I hope it's not foil.
Yeah. So it would need to be like in a normal set.
These sketches, a painter of these sketches would have been my dream.
Yeah. Imagine if they actually took your Twitter picture like that AI generated one.
Yeah. I think Jasper made that. Oh, wow.
Cool. So yeah, you feel like that version that Francis has built of Shuffle Breakfast is like really, really good?
Yeah, I think so. Really.
Now I want to play
really
that. That's just like
play Valakut. Play Valakut.
God, just getting to play Teferi in your combo deck is so nice.
Yeah. It's just like it. Yeah.
It gives you such peace of mind, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's so addicting to a lot of people, I guess. It's just like, even if you play it in the Blue Mirrors, it's just like, yeah.
And Teferi's, he's always like not great as a combat protection piece because lots of combos are either clunky or are playing more expensive things. But the curve of this deck is so low that like that is the top of your curve. It's great.
You know, I wonder if the live game's ever going to come back. Like, I don't even remember what the cards are. That's just like...
The what?
The live deck.
You mean
where you play like Starlit Sanctum, where you can like sacrifice a creature and gain life. And
yeah.
Well, there's a 3-mana cleric, and
whenever it goes the target, it gets +0/+3.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't remember the name of it. I can't. It's so long ago. I literally don't.
The other one was
Daru
Spiritualist was part of it.
Oh yeah, that works as well.
Yeah.
Maybe that's actually the one.
Okay, you heard it here first. So Andy's Valakuting people's faces off. Francis is squidding. I'm painting, and Julian's like, yes, Daru Spiritualist. That's my go-to.
I want to get.
Wait. You know what is a cleric? White Plume Adventurer.
Now we're talking.
I was going to say I want to gain like a bazillion life or something.
Okay.
I remember I once played a match, and I don't remember what it was, but I had an infinite life combo that just happened to be there. I think it might have been like some kind of pot deck, like with modern pot, right? You could gain infinite life. Yeah. And I named something like, I don't know, a Go-Go Plex or whatever, and the guy was playing Murphork. And like on his turn, like he eventually wrestled me down, and I like my pot broke, but I mean I had too much life, he couldn't win, he would deck. But I could see on his turn, once he had actually regained control, he was like thinking, and at some point I was like, what are you thinking about? He's like, how big is that number actually?
The biggest number.
I literally told him, okay, let's imagine we had all your Murphork in play on the first turn, and you get to attack me like for 43 times. You don't even like scratch the surface. It's like, okay, Scoop, go to game 2.
I remember a PTQ game against Pod. I used to be a Jund guy in Modern. This is like 10. This is when like Goif was amazing. I played against Pod, who gained infinite life, and I countered decks, and he had like 3 less cards. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to survive. We had like 40-something cards left, so we played the whole game out where I didn't play a single Dark Confident because I couldn't go down cards more. And so I played 2 Battle Skulls on my deck because why not? Jund. And I put like both Battle Skulls on Tarmogoyfs and was able to like remove the rest of their combo pieces for Murderous Redcap and deck them out.
Oh man, yeah.
That was also
amazing.
a PTQ where what I thought was a win in, but I ended up coming 9th. I got to beat like the Amulet Titan deck, but they used to play Hivemind as well because they had Summer Bloom. They played a turn 1 Hivemind with an Azusa, but then bounced all their lands, then kill me the next turn when they Talaria West for like a pack to kill me. But I had a 1-off Slaughter Pact to my deck and had it, so I killed their Azusa. They copied the Slaughter Pact and then died in their upkeep. Old one. Anyway.
So, before we conclude, by the way, I want to give big shout-outs to Schultz Cube on Archie Lance, who actually took down the entire showcase qualifier.
Yeah. Shout-outs to Tim. He kind of quit for a bit, and he said...
I was actually surprised to see his name back again.
And I was watching because I think he lost an early round and then just didn't lose for like 10 rounds or something. So
he might have actually literally lost the first round, if I remember correctly.
Could be. Yeah. It was definitely one of the earlier ones.
That's quite the comeback.
Yeah. So yeah, nice one, Tim.
Cool. So I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. If you want to support Everyday Channel directly, you can do so on April. See, that's what I try to like read 2 lines at the same time. I shouldn't record this late. You can support us on patreon.com/everydaychannel, or you can go on Apple Podcasts. You log in, you leave a review, 5 stars. Thank you very much. It's going to bring world peace and also make it sure that other people are going to be able to discover the podcast. So thank you so much for that. If you want to find us, you can find us on @EternalMTG on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me @It'sJulian23 on Twitter and It'sJulian on Twitch. Callum, where can people find you? You've actually streamed quite a bit again, right?
Did it once, I think.
Oh, okay. I just happened to catch it and I liked it.
Yeah. I'm at Callum Smith MTG on Twitter.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
oh man, this is just like amazing.
Twitter and Twitch, I think.
Awesome. Andy, where can people find you?
I'm not really anywhere, but you can see me at the next London Legacy Monthly on Saturday.
Hell yeah.
Did you actually are you actually able to live that life of not being available anywhere? That's, looking
Love
back, that's
well,
quite something.
I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I don't really tweet or Instagram or anything.
You just go ahead, you break formats and win tournaments, and then you show up on podcasts.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's like the assassin goes in, breaks something, and then just runs away.
I'm just glad that people are having fun with the decks.
Oh,
yeah.
that's very healthy approach. I mean, in Legacy, there's a lot of I want to take credit for this, I want to take credit for that. You need to credit me for this on Twitter. I invented this deck. It's just if somebody's I want to play the decks I love and want people to have fun with them, and that's it. I don't need to go on Twitter and tell everybody that I created this deck. It's just yeah, cool.
I've been kind of feeding Andy the feedback, especially from the Applejacks. I was because I tweeted about it, and then Anurag was streaming it. I was look what's happening, and people all around the world are playing Applejacks now. It's all your fault.
Yeah, maybe I might need to go back to that at some point. I haven't played it in a while. That's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. It's so fun. Yeah.
By the way, as I say this, I keep calling Callum the painter guy and try to give him all the credit in the world for painter. But I guess it's something different if somebody else does it for you, right? if you don't go actively out there and claim it. Yeah.
I still think Jack Kitchen is the painter guy. But yeah.
That's how it felt for me, when people were always talking to me about elves and everything. And I was thinking, there were so many people before me whom I looked up to for elves, and I mean, yeah, I guess that's usually how it goes, right? If you come into a deck and you learn from the masters, and then people learn about you and they feel like you're the guy, and I'm no, I'm just how would you call it? I'm standing on the shoulders.
I'm just an elf fan.
In a tiny little word, trying to make it work. So many people actually make this podcast work. Not only our hosts, but also our supporters. Whether you're on any of our tiers, but especially on our Eternal Witness tier, like Tommy Hinks, Testacular, Top8 in the Showcase Challenge, Sebastian Hollager, Guillaume, Hannah Sean Dewey, Francis Cooper, another Top8, Cassandra Davis, Benedict Gruber runs the etc. Eternal, Severin Schwarzhuber, another Top8, and etc. Dude, everybody, you listen to the podcast, you support this podcast, Top8s left and right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Even more so, who else is there? We have our Grizzlebrand here, Victor Bernatz, Bachu Bat, Scott Monroe, Jeremy Gates, Henry Cockwood, Tom Hepp, Andrew Whitman, and Paragon Games in St. Louis. No Top8s for the Grizzlebrand here. I don't know, man. Maybe people are going to downgrade to Eternal Witness tier now and going to be maybe that's
how it works, Holy. We're actually slipping loads of different advice to that tier.
Secretly on another secret channel, yeah. Cool. So, how are things gonna work going forward? I'm actually gonna go to Kenya until the end of the month. I'm basically returning on the Tuesday before Eternal Legacy. I keep calling it fucking European Legacy Masters. I kind of want to record an episode from Kenya. The internet should be good enough, but we will figure it out. I would really love to record an episode from Kenya. I've never done it.
Yeah. Well, ELM, we're fighting for second place because Andy's not first, right?
In the team. We're actually playing both, right? We're going to play
the
team and we're
Oh yeah, Andy's playing the main. And you coming to teams as well, Andy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm probably just going to go for this Saturday, I suspect, but I'm not sure. I still need to book flights and stuff.
Fair enough.
Imagine if you actually played a team event where one plays Applejacks, Naya Stompy, and the other one is playing Valakut. Just
is it modern Legacy
Vintage? Yeah.
Just Valakut in all three. Why not?
All that's slightly harder.
You can play a fast one, Valakut in Vintage, right?
Oh, with the mill, with the crab?
You can play Crab Shack. Yeah.
Crab Shack, that's the mill deck, right?
Yeah. Well, it kills with the black enchantment. There's something Hadra. I don't know.
With Vintage, you can have the craziest combo decks, and that's just and we have this 7 mana enchantment from Ice Age, and this is how we win. We figured out it's the most efficient way. It's okay.
It's only a 3 mana enchantment. You can cast it off Black Lotus.
I mean, it's vintage, man.
Yeah.
Okay. The Smogs in like 3-man and vintage is more like 1-man on legacy.
Yeah, basically, you can do whatever.
Cool. So, Andy, once again, thanks a lot for coming on, teaching us about.
No problem.
I was gonna say like the gospel of Andy, but that's just like I haven't even had any wine yet, and I probably shouldn't because it's like 1 a.m. by now. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys. See you, everybody. Bye bye.
Ciao.